Good evening. I wish to call the Lee County Board of Commissioners to order on this Monday, September 15th of 2025. If you would please rise for the invocation, will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. It's probably Mr. Reeves. Father, we come to you today with heavy hearts. We mourn the loss of an American patriot, Charlie Kirk, a man whose religious values he spoke freely by openly debating in a peaceful and respectful manner. Because those who opposed his viewpoints took to violently silencing him. Sadly, he leaves behind a wife and 2 children, all because someone viciously disagreed with his viewpoint. To this day, fascist and communist dictatorships fear and often put to death free-thinking people. Our founding documents of this constitutional republic advocates for the protection of religious freedom, the right to speak freely without harm or malice, freedom of the press, the freedom to peaceably assemble, and the freedom to redress grievances from our government. Matthew 12:25. Every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Words of Jesus. Father, we are blessed that this body can and often does disagree, but we do it cordially and respectfully of each other's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as was written nearly 250 years ago in our founding document, the Declaration of Independence. Father, we ask that this darkness be removed from our country and that the evil will not prevail. We ask for a revival of your truth and that our community will be put an end to the violence happening here as well. We ask all of these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have in front of you, is there any additional items to add to the agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
We're doing no additional items to the agenda. You wish to approve the consent agenda? I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as. Motion to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion?
Yep. Okay. Go right here.
Yeah, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as so far approved?
So moved.
Motion's been made to approve the agenda as submitted. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on, we have public hearings. We have a public hearing on the Coca-Cola building financing public hearing. Jen Waterhouse and Mr. Mitch.
Hello, Commissioners and staff. Am I okay to start? Okay. We are here tonight to conduct a public hearing regarding the limited obligation bond financing agreement to finance the Coca-Cola building, serving as the new warehouse facility to be used for public safety vehicles, equipment, and housing various administrative functions and vehicles for the public transportation system. If the county issues the bonds pursuant to the agreement, the limited obligation bond would be secured by a mortgage on the new warehouse. Now we have Mitch here from Davenport to briefly discuss the RFP process that took place before we open the public hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having me back again this evening. Similar to the financing earlier this year, we conducted a direct bank loan RFP process, sent out the RFP to all the regular bidders, regionally, locally, nationally, for a direct bank loan, limited obligation bond. In response to that request for proposal, we received 6 financing proposals from lenders. That's one more than we got last time. Very pleased with that number. JP Morgan provided the lowest interest rate through that process. So of the 6 total proposals, JP Morgan provided the lowest interest rate, which was a 3.97%. So just under that 4% rate for a 15-year term. And that financing will be prepayable after 5 years. So after November 1 of 2030, we would be able to prepay or refinance if interest rates support that. So that is the recommendation to move forward with that low proposal this evening. You will be looking to conduct a public hearing tonight. And once that public hearing is complete, there's a resolution for you all to consider. It is the first of 2 resolutions to move forward with the financing. We would come back to you at your October 6th meeting for the final resolution, which will contain all the terms and conditions of the proposal, if you approve, of the JP Morgan proposal, if you approve to move forward with that this evening. Ultimately, we would be going to the LGC the next day, October 7th, and then close on the financing in mid-October. So,
Questions for Mitch or Jen? Commissioner Sharp?
None?
Commissioner Reeves?
No.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
I don't have any, thank you.
Commissioner Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick?
None. Oh.
No questions? Commissioner Martin?
Just remind us what the interest would be at 3.9 for 15, the total payment.
yes, ma'am. One second, let me get to that page. So, at the 397, we would be looking at, I'm going to give you round numbers here, $3.4 million
In interest.
in interest, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Round numbers.
Yeah, I mean, 3.5 is close, 3.
Any questions for Jen? Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Lovick?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
No, sir.
Commissioner Reeves? Commissioner Sharp?
None?
Okay. Give me a second here, and I'll get my verbiage up here. I now open the public hearing for the Coca-Cola building financing. Public hearing is now open. Anyone speaking on behalf of the proposed financing, please come forward. Please state your name as well as your address. Anyone opposed? Please come forward. State your name and your address.
Alan Rummel, 1001 Northview Drive here in Sanford. I just had a few things on this. So I'm opposed to the Coke building purchase as presented. And I wanted to just kind of give a scenario. So imagine if Lee County Schools wanted to purchase some land for $3 million that was sold 13 months ago to the current owner for $2 million, because that's basically what's happening here. So there's like a 50% price premium over the last 13 months. I'm not personally aware of any, major renovations that were done to that building or anything that would merit a 50% price increase. I think, obviously, I'm also not a realtor, but I believe that home values have kind of stabilized. We're not seeing the insane, fast-paced growth in those. I got to believe that the commercial market is kind of similar. So again, a 50% premium over 13 months ago just seems crazy to me. Something else I wanted to highlight, I think there was a question, what was it, the June meeting, I think, where this came up. At any rate, there was a question about a rent option. And I know, or if I recall properly, the rent option did not include the full property. It was just like a section maybe. However, the amount discussed was for $10,000 a month, again, if I remember correct. And at the purchase price of $5.2 million, or a $10,000 a month rent, you could rent that for 44 years for $5.2 million. I feel like that kind of speaks for itself. I think surely there would be room for some negotiation to rent the entire space maybe that would drive that price up some, but I feel like that should be explored fully before paying that huge premium. And then a couple other things, and this could certainly be me not coming to every single one of these meetings, but I just wonder if there's an improvement plan, because I think this amount of money includes a couple $1 million for, some specific capital improvements to the building, upfitting, charges, all those things. But I know at the CIP meetings this year, there was a lot of talk from commissioners about wanting to know detailed plans, both for upfit and then for also annual cost projections on what's it gonna take to run a new facility when the county purchases it. And I've just not seen those. If they exist, I'd be happy to, if you could point me to them, I'd like to check them out. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone for 4? Please state your name as well as your address, sir.
Hello, my name is Camden Pearson. I live at 5833 Blue Jay Drive, Sanford. I do not agree with buying an old $5 million building. Not only is the building $1,700,000 more than it was last sold for, after you buy the building, you'll have to pay even more for repairs. The government's job is to protect our rights and interests. Buying this building will not do that. I request that you do not vote for these policies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone for? Anyone opposed? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name as well as your address. You can adjust the mic.
I can adjust the mic. You calling me short, Kurt? Good afternoon. I'm Sherilyn Womack. I live at 1615 Boone Trail Drive. And first, I want to begin by sincerely thanking the county commissioners, Commissioner Smith, Martin, and Lovick, for attending our most recent school board meeting. Your presence demonstrated a true commitment to our schools and to the children of this county. That kind of partnership is exactly what we need as we face all the decisions before us. Too often, our county's discussions center almost exclusively around growth, new developments, and new projects, and the debt that often follows. Growth is not inherently negative, but growth without balance, growth pursued without the proper care for what we already have, puts our community at risk. The foundation at every successful county is not its buildings, it's not its business incentives, it's its public schools. Our schools are not just numbers on a ledger. They're living institutions that shape our children, support our families, and sustain the workforce that makes economic progress possible in the first place. Neglecting them weakens the very fabric that holds our county together. Businesses will not stay in communities where schools are underfunded. Families will not choose to move to neighborhoods where education is neglected. We must also be realistic. Every new economic project brings more families into our county and more children into our classrooms. We're already running out of space without a school construction plan and corresponding investments. Unchecked growth will result in overcrowded classrooms, overextended teachers, and diminished opportunities for our students. I urge this board to make education the backbone of every future decision. That means sustaining the resources we already have, protecting the investment taxpayers have already made, and planning responsibly for the additional school capacity we know we all need. Growth must be tied to stewardship. Development should never outpace our ability to educate the children who come with it. Economic development will come and go, but the education we provide for our children will remain with them in this county forever. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for? Anyone opposed? Yes, sir. State your name as well as your address, please.
I'm Jim Womack. I live at 1615 Boone Trail Road as well. Two or three things. One, I'm concerned, and I think a lot of citizens of the county are concerned about the general growth of government here in Lee County, and this contributes to that growth of government by requiring the taxpayers to foot the bill for yet another facility. I think the rapid growth that the county has enjoyed over the last few years is magnificent. However, I think we're actually growing the size of government and the cost of government faster than our general growth of the county. And, you know, if you talk to the John Locke Foundation and financial experts, they'll tell you that you should grow the size of government only commensurate with the growth of the local economy. And I don't know that anyone's done a study of that here recently. JLF used to do it. But I think it'd be useful for you to go back and take a look at just how much we're spending on the cost of government and county government versus the general growth and the economic base that we've had recently. So that brings me to this building. The purchase of this building was not necessary, just generally not necessary. It's not something that you're required to do by state law. It's not something you need to do by local demand or necessity. There were plenty of options. I remember a few months back recommending that you take a look at releasing a request for information, an RFI, to the general public and solicit inputs as to solutions for parking the Colts vehicles and the police vehicles or whatever, and the additional space that would be required by the county. And I think, there was some talk about it, but it was never really done. And I've been told by responsible citizens here in Lee County that they even suggested options back to county government and never got a response back. Local realtors had actually identified locations which would have fulfilled your business need without having to purchase a new building, and it went unresponded to. So I guess the decision was already made. We're going to buy this building at whatever costs, regardless, and we don't really particularly care what the citizens have to say or what the realtors have to say. And I think a responsible county government would go back and do an RFI before we made that commitment to our tax dollars to have to purchase yet another capital building that has, by the way, very limited growth capacity. If you talk to the experts around here, that building is pretty much locked in based on the architectural standards that were followed when it was created. There's not a lot of utility in that building downstream. I think later you're going to find that building's got very serious limitations. So you're going to pay a premium price, one of the highest per square foot prices that's ever been purchased in Lee County, for a building that's got limited growth capacity that isn't really necessary. So you just got to say to yourself, where's the fiscal conservatism and all that? Okay, so the other thing that I think is a real serious concern about the purchase at this point is that because it's not an absolute necessity, you're putting on the back burner things that are of necessity that you do need to have, and you need to have. We've known this for a decade that we're going to have a new jail. Now we're looking at $70 to $80 million for a new jail we can't really afford. And if we're really stretched to have to afford it now, we're making it even more difficult by purchasing this building when you don't have to purchase it, when you could actually bank that money and start seriously setting aside the funds that you need for a new jail, or at least the debt capacity for a new jail, which you're going to have through general obligation debt. And those bonds are going to come at a premium. So I would suggest that maybe take a look back at the options that you have, which is to lease a facility that has the adequate parking and the business space that you need in Lee County, and make some compromise there. Do an RFI. Find out what's available out there. And I guarantee you there will be some responses to your RFI. There are people out there that have facilities. And then I think the last thing, it's already been said, you're paying a premium for the building. At least take a look back at what you can get the building for. We just recently, at the college, we just recently went through an analysis of a sale of a building out in the industrial park. And there are, people are paying top dollar these days per square foot, but I think you could find that you probably should be paying about $1 million less for this facility right now if you do decide to buy it. $1 million less than what you've tentatively arrived at for a decision. I think, the building sold for $2 million less just a year or two ago. I would say, try to figure out a way to negotiate that down if possible. And if not, please look at your other options. I think you'll be a lot better off. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone for? Anyone else opposed? Going once, going twice. Public hearing is now closed. Thank you. Questions of the board? Commissioner Martin?
Are you asking, is this the time that the board will ask questions about the purchase of the Coca-Cola building? Is that
Just,
correct?
do you have any additional questions?
Well, yeah, I do. I know that there was discussion and comments about other properties, and I know we've looked at some level at other properties, but I'm concerned because we haven't had any properties brought to us as a board to consider. So I'm wondering where we're at with the latest property that was looked at. I think I understood that it wasn't agreeable because there was a shared, I want to say driveway or a street, but I'd like an update on that property, even if we could save a couple $1 million. It seems that it would be worth looking at. I mean, I agree with renting, but, if we're looking to purchase, I'd like an update on that.
Staff did go look at the property.
Yeah.
And evaluate it, and they were concerned about the shared driveway, entrance, and parking lot, and the amount of parking we would have left to make use of. In addition to that, we have yet to get pricing from the gentleman. We've asked for that and have still to this date not gotten the pricing, knowing that this was coming before us tonight. They did not provide the pricing to us.
I guess my only
So it's hard
concern
for us
is,
to consider it.
thank you. Less a question and more a statement to us as decision makers on this purchase. We're not in a rush, right? Like, I understand there's deadlines, but we're talking about $7.5 million for something that we really don't need. We have a need, but we don't need this building. So my request is that we pause. I know that's not agreeable to staff, but my request is that we pause and look at our finances and look at what's coming down the road and think, do we need to spend this $7.5 million, or can we fix the problem temporarily? Thank you.
Commissioner Levick,
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Connect.
I think that was my biggest thing too, is not a lot of options were given to us. A few were presented. Nothing is perfect, but when you try hard, you can make things work, I think. Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck.
I guess one of my questions is, I know you said we're not going to Commissioner Martin's statement on we're not in a rush. Was the $7.5 million not approved in the CIP, which is the only thing that was approved in the CIP back in January?
That and the bus garage.
Okay.
The only projects that were approved were the two in this fiscal year, which were the bus garage and this project.
Okay, so I guess my only thing is and I guess I would be concerned at the idea that there were experts that weighed in on it. I'd love to know who the experts are, and then limited growth capacity that were stated, and then that there were properties that were presented to us that we did not. Are you aware of any properties that were presented that you guys as staff have not responded back to?
Are you asking me?
What do you mean properties that we didn't respond back to?
I mean, it was presented in a statement that there were properties that were sent to the staff that they have not even received a reply back to, so I'm trying to ask staff if there's...
I don't think you've received information on these particular
I'm asking
properties.
staff, I'm not asking myself. I'm asking, did staff receive a request and they haven't responded back to?
We've investigated everything that has come to us, plus went beyond that to look and see what buildings were available on various listings and all, So if the properties were out there on services that we could get to see if they were available, staff researched those to see if they met the qualifications we needed.
Okay.
Space-wise, security-wise, functional for what we were needing.
Okay. And to correct me if I'm wrong, in January, the entire CIP was wiped by this commissioner board, except for the two things that one of them is being voted on tonight, that you guys were in agreement back in January, and now it's being questioned because of, we think that there might be a better option out there. Every time we push something back 2 to 3 months, you might as well add 20% to the price. And I get renting is one of those wonderful things, but you might as well take that money as you're driving down the highway and throw it out, because you're not investing in an asset that you can have for the county that, yes, it may have grown in whatever exponential. I'm curious what the appraisal is. I don't know what that is, so I will, in true transparency, I do not know what the appraisal of the building is. However, owning something is better than renting something when it's with the given abilities of what we're going to do with the microtransit that we're trying to do with the city and partnering with people in the location of it. So just want to remind the board that they did vote for the $7.5 million in January and wiped literally the next 4 years off the board. So keep that in mind when you're frustrated with how staff has been directed on spending this money. You were all in agreement back in January. I don't have anything else.
Chairman Smith, I want to make one
Yes,
correction to
please.
something I said. In the CIP, there was also a project for the community college for the track out at
For
the
the-
Emergency
Yes.
Services
And the
Training Center. I
emergency
don't want to
services,
overlook
yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was also the school,
Bus garage.
something with the cooling system or the heater or something, but, you know, there was a school item also that was kept in the CIP. I mean, we can pull up the CIP if we need to, but it's not really the point. But it is the point.
Commissioner Reeves.
No questions.
Commissioner Sharp.
Commissioner Warbeck answered every question I had.
I'm sorry, say again, please.
Commissioner Warbeck answered every question I had.
Oh, thank you. All right, the public hearing is over. If we move forward, I do need a statement to the effect of waiving our policy on the public hearing.
Chairman Smith, do you mind if I
Yes, ma'am.
start this? As part of the next steps in the debt issuance process for the LOBs for acquiring and improving the Coca-Cola building, the board will need to adopt the following resolution, making certain findings and determinations regarding the proposed financing of approving the purchaser and requesting the LGC to approve the financing agreement. You should have the resolution in your agenda packet. You will need to waive your policy to take action the same night as the public hearing.
Do I have a motion to waive the policy?
So moved.
We have a motion to waive the policy to conduct a business regarding the public hearing on the same evening. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on. I need a resolution making certain findings and determinations regarding the proposed financing of a warehouse facility, approving the purchaser, and the requesting the local government commission to approve the financing agreement. Do I have that motion?
Do you need the motion? Is she speaking? Just trying
No,
to.
you need a motion.
Okay,
Yeah, we-
so approved.
Motion's been made to move forward making certain findings and determinations regarding the proposed financing of a warehouse facility, approving the purchaser and requesting the local government commission to approve the financing agreement. I do have one question. With the local government commission, how does that work for the public's knowledge?
Your question, can you be more specific on your question?
Well, if the local government commission has to approve it, what is the process?
Okay, we've submitted our application, and it will be considered by the local commission on October 7th, if I'm correct. At that time, after that, we will be notified of their approval or denial.
Okay. You've heard the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Can I have a show of hands of the ayes, please? Did you get that, Madam Clerk? Thank you. Moving on. Next item on the agenda is the public comments. I do have a number of individuals on the list here, so we will start with public comments. Mr. Stephen Baber. Please state your name as well as your address for the record.
My name is Stephen Baber. I live at 3644 Lower Moncure Road, Sanford. I'm here to speak in favor of the request that's before the board for the rezoning of 430 acres from residential agricultural to light industrial. I represent at least 8 property owners that have land either adjacent to or in the near proximity to where this is being asked to be rezoned. 3 of those property owners spoke at the earlier public hearing against the rezoning request. What we've come to realize is the reality of the situation is that Trustwell Group has already purchased a vast majority of the land they want to rezone. And therefore, we have to realize that they're going to want to recover their investment, and they will recover it in some way, shape, or form. Our concerns after looking at this is that if you, as county commissioners, don't approve this, that their next step will be to go to the city, get it annexed, and the city most likely will then approve it, and we'll be in the same situation. But what that does and what it creates is city sprawl. And our citizens in the area, we don't want to see hodgepodge extension of the city and around us. It creates conflicts across the board, certainly with your services, fire and police. Who do you get called? How do you get called? So it be a disorganized approach to allow the city to go that. Furthermore, if the city didn't do that, then the ultimate result would be that it could potentially become 430 homes. And that would significantly increase the traffic over what a light industrial zone would be on Lower Moncure Road, because we are concerned about the traffic, but light industrial would be present significantly less traffic than would homes if it ultimately came to that. The other thing, you just heard a significant speech about the school system, the money we need. We need business growth that brings additional funding and revenue to this county to support the growth that we're going to see and to support those schools. And so this, approving this as light industrial, would it help advance that structure? I think if you guys have studied it all, Trustwell Group has a very, very good reputation in what they've done. We've heard them speak about how they plan to develop the site. One of the concerns, Mickey Hunt, who owns 240 acres close to this, she spoke at the public hearing. Her big concern was the water quality. They've assured us that they're planning for that, and I think that we are better off with a trustworthy corporate citizen to protect the watershed as we would be if it became a housing development at some point down the line. So in summary, with a number of residents that are closely associated with the look at the reality, I think it's in the best interest of the county and the citizens to approve the rezoning request of light industrial. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rex Chesham. Please state your name as well as your address, sir.
Good evening. My name is Rex, last name Chesham. My address is 3443 Lower Moncure Road. And my neighbor Steve did a very eloquent job of explaining our position. We kind of met as a little community amongst ourselves and hashed it out. And, you know, I was one of the folks that spoke last time pretty passionately about not approving the zoning request. But in hindsight, you know, that probably was just, the passion was in the right place, but the mind was in the wrong place. The reality, like Steve pointed to, could end up with a city annexation. And that literally is the community, when I say community, our little area of Lee County, that is our worst nightmare. no offense to city dwellers, but we live kind of a different life and want to keep it that way. And as Steve pointed out, I think light industry is kind of a crapshoot right now as what'll come in there and what form it'll take, but suffice to say, I'd rather take my chances with 2 or 3, corporate neighbors, so to speak, than 400 new neighbors. So again, I've changed my position. I've kind of done a 180, but I want you to know it's, as much as I'd love to be able to put my community in a time capsule, seal it off from the rest of the world and say, we're never going to change, that's simply not a reality. So the lesser of two evils is probably to approve it. So tonight, I ask you to consider that and actually approve the request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Phyllis Venrick? Phyllis, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
I have to bring this way down. My name is Phyllis Hancock Venrick. At the risk of sounding like Hillary Rodham Clinton, I'm using all 3 names because I'm very proud of that Hancock. My family have lived in Lee County for over 100 years. Family farm is over 100 years old, so I'm very much invested in the county. I am not a big Target shopper. I am not a big shopper at Walmart. I love to see our small businesses thrive, but I'm also smart enough to know that we're losing a lot of revenue with people like me who have to decide when they want to shop for certain items, if they go south to Aberdeen or do they go north to Apex and Raleigh. And we have to have a draw. And I think that the property is a disgrace in the condition that it's in right now. And I would like to see it be something that would be putting tax dollars into the city. I'm 86 years old, and I have lived in Lee County for all but 15 of those years and seen a lot of things in Lee County in those years. My father served on the county commission at one time. As I said, I want to see growth, but I want to see good growth. I don't want it to just be something that's thrown up overnight. Some of the housing developments going up right now break my heart. But we need businesses in this county, and I think anyone that's willing to come to Lee County and start a business that's going to put tax dollars in our revenue is what we need. I have lived in the county most of my life. 4 years ago, I sold property my family owned on US 1. I sold 3 houses and moved into the city. First time I had lived in the city was my first experience with city tax. I will tell you that this year my tax bill for the city is higher than my county taxes. I would love to see some revenue help with that. And I think that we can only do that by encouraging businesses to come. And I would like to see the project at River Birch come to Sanford. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, Alan Rummel. Again, please state your name as well as your address, sir.
Alan Rummel, 1001 Northview Drive in Sanford. Just wanted to also put out there, I'm not speaking on behalf of the school board tonight, but I did want to provide just a couple bits of information about the student enrollment projection that we shared at our last meeting. So I just wanted to highlight that projection, it uses existing students per household data to estimate how many students we'll have in the school system when there are more households built in the county. So it's pretty simple at its core. This is about as accurate an estimate as you can get that I'm aware of. I know Don Kavaskis, who is the former Strategic Services Director, and then Miss Angela Wood, who is the current one. That's the same methodology that they use, except for, because we tried to do that internally using some rougher numbers. This ORED group really dove into that to identify specific types of development and just be more precise with the numbers. I also wanted to highlight that we did try to use those county services, but we had a couple months delay, and at one point we were told that there needed to be a software update to complete the work, and we didn't have a timeline for that, so that's when the school board decided to use this ORED group to come in and do that work for us, just because we were really slipping on timeline. I've also heard that there may be some who believe that charter and private schools will absorb a bulk of the growth, the student growth, but I believe our projection that we just received, it does already factor in charter and private schools based on that methodology. So when they take students per household, we're talking about public school students per household. So if you have a comparison community, for example, that has 100 public school kids and then 20 kids that are in private and charter, when they use that comparison community to estimate for a new community, that will account for 100 public school kids and 20 kids to go to private charter, right? So it's already baked in. So unless there are additional charters or privates that plan to move in that we just don't know about, we believe our numbers to be correct. So obviously if we add new charter schools that nobody knows are coming today, that would change this a bit. But it's more nuanced, right? One more point I wanted to bring up is that it takes 4 years from the time you start shopping for land until doors open on a school. So we can't wait till we have 800 extra students in trailers at our elementary schools before we start the process, because then we're 4 years behind already. So I really think we need to take a look at trying to be a little ahead of the curve. Again, this projection is mathematical, and it requires a bit of common sense, obviously. You know, I talked about the charters and the privates. There are things, we don't have a magic 8 ball, we don't know what's coming, but we need to be smart and stick to numbers whenever possible. The last thing that I had was just, if the studies that you guys have received from the school system are not enough, I would respectfully request that you do your own study and do it very quickly, so that we can talk about future growth, because, you know, based on all the numbers I see, we should be building. And I wanted to give a very quick, I know I'm over time, but a very quick specific example. So my kids go to Deep River Elementary. Well, one is out of that school, but since the 2022-23 school year, Deep River has added 100 kids to that school, so over 3 school years. There is a separate bus route now coming from the Galvins Ridge community, so a lot of that growth has come from there. And this projection from ORED over the next 3 school years, they believe we'll add an additional 70 students. So if you look at the last 3 years, the next 3 years, I think those numbers, they jive well, right? I don't think they're severely overestimating. So that's all I had. I just would appreciate it if you would support the grant application tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Camden Pearson. Again, state your name as well as your address.
Camden Pearson, 5833 Blue Jay Drive, Sanford. I do not agree with paying $2 million of county tax dollars towards the Riverbirch development and its infrastructure. It seems like a workaround of the county commissioner policy that states that you cannot give incentives to retail. It is a dishonest use of our tax dollars. I request that you do not vote for this policy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Kelly Ladati. Please state your name as well as your address for the record.
Kelly Ladati, 1806 Crepe Myrtle Drive. Good evening, Chairman Smith and Board of Commissioners. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Downtown Sanford Incorporated, we write to express our strong support for the proposed redevelopment of Riverbirch Shopping Center, anchored by a Target store, additional retail, and a new-to-market regional grocery store. This $64 million private investment, supported by a $4 million economic development investment over 5 years, represents a transformational opportunity for Sanford and Lee County. While we recognize the many important needs facing our city, from infrastructure and housing to public safety and schools, we believe this project directly advances our community's ability to meet those challenges in the long term. Currently, Sanford residents must travel 30 to 45 minutes to Southern Pines, Fayetteville, or Holly Springs for access to a Target store. That means consumer dollars are leaving our community every day. Locating a Target in Sanford will keep that spending here, expanding retail options for families, reducing leakage to neighboring markets, and positioning our city as a regional shopping destination. This increased retail activity will generate significant sales tax revenue and expand our tax base, creating resources that can be invested back into infrastructure, housing, schools, and public services. The redevelopment will bring hundreds of construction jobs during the build-out and ongoing permanent positions once the project is complete. In addition, the introduction of a new grocery store and 62,000 square feet of additional retail space will attract complementary businesses, further boosting employment opportunities and spurring economic activity. We understand that Sanford faces pressing needs: water and sewer expansion, stormwater improvements, and public safety programs, affordable housing, and new school capacity. However, the key to funding these initiatives lies in strengthening our city's economic foundation. The $4 million investment, spread over 5 years, leverages a much larger $64 million private investment, an extraordinary ratio that ensures the city and county gains far more in the long term than it invests up front. This project is about more than just retail. It signals to other regional and national companies that Sanford is growing, vibrant market worth investing in. It aligns with our efforts downtown and across the city to build a community that attracts families, businesses, and talent. With projected growth bringing up to 1,800 additional school-aged children to our district by 2035, we must welcome projects that expand our tax base and provide the revenue streams needed to invest in schools, housing, parks, and public services. For these reasons, the Board of Directors of Downtown Sanford Incorporated enthusiastically supports River Birch redevelopment and the proposed $4 million investment. We believe this project will generate far-reaching benefits for Sanford's economy, quality of life, and long-term resiliency. We thank you for your leadership and encourage you to vote in favor of this exciting opportunity for our community. Respectfully, Ashley Davenport and the DSI as the DSI Chair and the Board of Directors for DSI. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Next on the list, Eddie Odom. Please state your name as well as your address for the record.
Eddie Odom, 888 Henry Odom Road, Bear Creek, but I'm here tonight to represent Central Electric Membership Corporation in support for the rezoning of the Trustwell Group of the 430 acres from residential to light commercial. One of the things I want the board to, I wanted to reiterate, thank you, this is my second time speaking on this, was we are a not-for-profit cooperative, 25,000 member cooperative. Over 5,400 of our membership resides in Lee County, and it's a combination of residential and commercial growth. I do want to reiterate what Mr. Baber and the other gentleman had mentioned about the infrastructure and the cost. 3 core values that we have at the co-op are safety, reliability, and affordability. And I think everyone here in this room understands affordability is cost of everything has got high. We're not immune from it in the electrical industry, for the power industry. Commissioner Mark understands that well from his days at Duke Energy, I'm sure. But what I wanted to reiterate was a commercial load for our cooperative helps balance those costs of residential load. A residential load, I think one of the gentlemen previously mentioned it could be a 430 lot subdivision, possibly if it went that way. You're talking close to $1 million investment that we would have to put in. And again, we would have to recoup that back from our membership at some point. Commercial loads, most of the time, are 7 day a week, 24 hour around the clock, steady loads, which again helps offset a lot of our cost. So again, I did want to reiterate the support of the Trustwell Group. They were very, very instrumental in getting us some land to build our new substation, which we're currently in the process of doing. And that request was for the city of Sanford because of the water plant expansion. And because of that, we were able to get that land, proceed on with that project at the City of Sanford Water Plant. But again, from the infrastructure cost of the co-op, my job is to make things most affordable for my membership. And again, commercial loads, even a light commercial load, is way more beneficial for us than residential. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. That ends the public comments, but I do want to take the privilege of introducing Mr. Sean Hecht to the podium, please, Sean. I'm going to put him on the spot here. He is Congressman Knott's intern. I'd like him to introduce himself to the board so that you can see him and rattle his cage when you need to talk to Congressman Knott.
Well, good afternoon to you all. Like you said, I'm Sean Heck. I'm just started an internship with Congressman Knott. Please excuse me, I'm a little nervous. He put me on the spot. That's really who I am. I have an interest in hopefully having your guys' job one day, so that's that.
Thank you, sir. Where do you go to school?
I'm going to Central Carolina Community College. Right now, I am attending there for 2 years with the intent to transfer. I am undecided on what university I'm going to, but I am for sure going to major in political science and go to law school and obtain my Juris Doctorate. I want to be president, but yeah, that's Sean. That's Sean for you.
No, that's fine. That's great. That's awesome. Just a reminder, check with Lieutenant Governor Wicker there about a school he told me he went to. I'm not quite sure. I went to Maryland, so I just want to state that fact.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And good luck to you. Next item on the agenda, Planning Board recommendation on the zoning map amendment. Amy McNeil.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amy McNeil with the Sanford Lee County Planning Department, and this information is on pages 274 through 288 of your agenda packet. And I will pause at this time to allow the chairman to pose the question regarding disclosure of a conflict of interest.
A governing board member shall not vote on any legislative decision regarding a development regulation adopted pursuant to Chapter 160D, where the outcome of the matter being considered is reasonably likely to have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact on the member. A governing board member shall not vote on any zoning amendment if the landowner of the property subject to a rezoning petition or the applicant for a text amendment is a person with whom the member has a close familial, business, or other associational relationship. Does any board member have a conflict? Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you.
The Planning Board met on August 18th after the public hearing was held and recommended by a 4-3 vote that the Commissioners deny the request to rezone 430 acres with frontage on Lower Moncure Road from residential agricultural to light industrial to allow the development of a light industrial business park. Topics of discussion included the following: how the request does and does not further the objectives of the Plan San Lee, the adopted comprehensive land use plan, that the existing site conditions, including the proximity of existing rail, power, public water, public sewer, a public road, creeks, floodplain, and the proximity to the airport, whether or not improvements would be required to be made to the existing infrastructure in order to develop the site in a light industrial manner that may change the character of the area, for example, road widening and rail spurs, and the uniqueness of the site in relation to this request. They also discussed traffic, lighting, noise, and environmental impacts that may be associated with light industrial uses and the potential for multiple shifts of workers, that there is no mechanism to make the applicant's voluntary commitments, such as natural buffers, limiting development south of the rail line, and following higher environmental standards formally enforceable, since this is a general use rezoning. I would like to point out that since the date of the public hearing, the applicant, Mr. John Keener, forwarded a letter to the Commissioners via email that has been placed at your seats. Also, an email was sent to the Commissioners from Mr. Steve Baber, representing several of the adjoining property owners. Copies of both documents have been placed at your seats just in case someone did not receive them. These documents are a matter of public record and on file with the clerk to the board. As a reminder regarding this rezoning request, the commissioners should make 2 votes. Sample motions are provided for your reference, and commissioners are always welcome to draft a unique motion if preferred. Also, you may acknowledge that the zoning map amendment is not consistent with the Plan San Lee Long Range Plan and still vote to approve the request. Are there any questions?
Questions for Amy, please. Commissioner Sharp. Commissioner Reeves. Commissioner Vorbeck.
I think my only question, I guess, is not necessarily for Amy, but is Mr. Keener going to get an opportunity to be able to speak on this before we
Mr.
vote?
Keener, are you available to speak?
I just, I
She
would
has a
love-
question.
I mean, I know not everyone has a copy of this letter, but I would love
Please,
for you
please
to
come
be
to the
able to
podium, sir.
be able to kind of paraphrase this letter based on some of the planning board's questions or concerns, I should say, that came about, and then obviously the letter that was presented by the 8 property owners. That was also some of the things about versus what could potentially happen as far as traffic studies and your times of day that the shifts would be working, those types of.
Certainly, I appreciate the opportunity. Based on the information that was shared with us by the public at the public hearing, we presented during the public hearing a number of environmental benefits. Those have been made part of the public record as well. To summarize those, protections of streams and floodplains was a critical need. Stormwater runoff retention on property, even though that's above and beyond the county requirements, that will be done. That's included there. Pollution prevention during constructions and additional measures protecting those streams and wetlands during construction and moving forward. That's part of a number of the commitments that we made. Increasing the natural buffers around there beyond what would be normally required is included for the entire site. Also not developing south of the rail line to further protect the buffers and the floodplains, especially along Roberts Creek. That's critical in portion of it. And then off-site improvements are to be done by the development rather than ask for any additional support or incentives from the county to perform those. Those include traffic improvements. We follow it up based on some concerns about traffic by completing a traffic study about what a light industrial use would be versus a 430 home by right development that could be put on there today. As Mr. Baber summarized very accurately, looking at the worst case scenario, which would be one shift, everyone coming in at the same time, that would be about 2,800 trips less per day than what would be generated by a 430 home subdivision on the same site. So we wanted to share that information both to the public as well as to the commissioners so that you saw that we were responding to the public comments that we heard, and the commitments that we were making are in response to that and response to you as we develop the property.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you very much.
Can I
Any
one
further
more?
questions?
And it's also in your best interest to follow through with those commitments, correct?
100% absolutely. We are major developer here in Lee County. We have investments all over. To do wrong on one site would be limiting us on everything else we do. We will absolutely follow through with the commitment, as we've already done on some of the properties that we've developed. We will follow through and do the same commitments here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Connect. Thank you. Commissioner Lovick.
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
Just a quick question. Mr. Baber spoke earlier, is that correct? Yeah. So although the planning board is 4-3, the request in this letter is that he is requesting to approve. So the request at this point in time, albeit not official, would be 4, 4, and 3 against. Is that correct?
Amy can answer that.
Sure. So I believe what Commissioner Martin is saying is that she's pointing out that Mr. Baber, as he mentioned in the email, is a member of the Lee County Planning Board. And he did vote to recommend to deny this rezoning request. He has since had a change of heart, but that does not officially change
Correct.
the planning board recommendation.
Thank you. No questions.
No further questions. Do I have a motion to approve or deny the rezoning request?
Move to approve.
Oh,
It doesn't fall into.
Did you say deny?
No.
you move to approve the rezoning request, sir?
You have to say if it's,
I was going to say, hang on, I'm
Oh,
finding.
we gotta, wait a minute.
First
This
one
is,
first.
The dual.
motion to propose zoning is, not consistent with Plan San Lee.
For the first one, you gotta make the motion, is it consistent or is it not consistent? It's not necessarily approving it or
The way I read it, both.
not. I know.
Isn't that what you said?
That's what the planning board recommended. They made in the packet is motion 3. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. McNeil, but I think that's what the planning board did, motion 3, which was that it's consistent and not consistent. Your other two options are, the first one is consistent, the second is not consistent. Either way, you still then move on to the
It's
approval.
consistent. I'm good with that.
Option 2?
No, you said option 1.
Option 1, made a motion, the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the Plan San Lee
Right.
use place type of countryside because
You would have to fill in because.
Yeah, you wanna stick with 3? Is that, it's that? All right, so the unique motion is motion 3. I'll make a motion 2, that I will agree with the planning board that it is and is not consistent with the Plan San Lee
Just say
use.
it's in town and do it all, get it
Yeah.
over with.
All right.
I'm
So
good with that.
we will take motion option 3, unique motion as per the planning board's recommendation. That motion is to request that it is both consistent and not consistent with Plan San Lee. It is consistent because approximately 25% of the developed land falls within the industrial center land use type, and the application leverages existing infrastructure. It is not consistent with the Plan San Lee because approximately 75% of the developable land is designated as countryside, which does not support industrial zoning. You've heard the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now the second motion comes in.
Motion to approve, I'll go with option 1, approve the proposed zoning map amendment from RA to LI.
Okay, we have the motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment from residential agricultural to light industrial because it is reasonable and in the public interest given the acreage needed for an industrial park and that the location and timing for the development of the industrial park tends to be market-driven and is therefore difficult to factor into a long-range land use plan. You've heard the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We are going to take a 10-minute break if we could get the clock up. Colin's here today. 10 minutes, people. We're going to take a break. Thank you.
Accept me as a man. And what about you, Dad? Did you think of what he'll say? Will he be understanding? Or does he think the usual way? Maybe I shouldn't worry, but I've been through this before, and I'd like to get things straight before I'm knocking on your door. Does she notice what I am? She says forget about me. Do you think you understand? And what about your friends? Do you care what people say? Will you accept the burdens I know will surely come your way? Maybe I shouldn't worry, but I've been through this before, and I'd like to get things straight before I'm knocking on your door. Does she never know about me? Does she notice what I am? see it grow, and I don't want to let it go. I guess that's why I gotta know. Does your mama know about me? Does your mama know about me? Does your mama know about me? Does your mama
Don't mess with Bill. Don't mess with Bill. Don't mess with Bill. Say it one more time. Don't mess with Bill. Well, I know he's the guy who put tears in my eyes 1,000 times or more. Oh, but every time he would apologize, I loved him more than before. He would say, hey, girls, keep away. Don't mess with Bill. Don't mess with Bill. Leave my Billy alone. Don't mess with Bill. The guy of yours. Don't mess with Bill. Now there's Johnny, there's Joe, and there's Frank and Jim, just to name a few. Now Bill's got me and I've got him. I'm sure there's one for you. He would say, hey, girls, keep away. Don't mess with Bill. Don't mess with Bill. He's mine, all mine. Don't mess with Bill. I say it one more time. Don't mess with Bill. Though I tell myself he wants no one else, 'cause he keeps coming back to me. Now I'm in no position to want competition. I want to be sure as can be. He would say, hey, girls, keep away. Don't mess with Bill. Don't mess with Bill. Leave my Billy alone. Don't mess with Bill. The guy of yours. Don't mess with Bill. 'Cause he's mine, all mine. Don't mess with Bill. I say it one more time. Don't mess with Bill. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't mess with Bill. Every little bit hurts. Every little bit hurts. Every night I cry, every night I sigh, every night I wonder why you treat me cold, yet you won't let me go. Every little hurt counts. Every little hurt counts. You say you're coming home, yet you never phone. Leave me all alone. My love is strong for you. I do wrong for you. I can't take this loneliness you've given me. I can't go on giving my life away. Oh, come back to me, darling, you'll see. I can give you all the things that you wanted before. If you will stay with me, yeah, every little bit hurts. Every little bit hurts. To you, I'm a toy, and to you, the boy who has to say when I should play. Yet you hurt me, desert me. to me, darling, you'll see I can give you all the things that you wanted before. If you will stay with me, yeah. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. Everybody say yeah. Say yeah. 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 Clap your hands just a little bit louder. Clap your hands just a little bit
What does every man look at first?
Some fellas look at the eyes, some fellas look at the nose, some fellas look at the size, some fellas look at the pose. I don't care if the eyes are red, I don't care if the nose is long, I don't care if she's underfed, I don't care if the clothes are wrong. First I look at the purse.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Wish to call the board back to order, please. Social hour is now over. Plan on being here on Thursday night for the Sanford Area Growth Alliance, and we'll have an hour of social conveyances then. All right, the next item on the agenda is a request to use ARPA revenue loss funding for emergency placement for children experiencing foster care. And Angelina Knoll is, I gotta get my sheet up here.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm before you tonight to request to authorize the use of $200,000 of ARPA revenue loss funds for emergency placement funding for children experiencing foster care. So just to give a little bit of a history, in 2024, Senator Bergen provided $100,000 of state-directed funding for emergency placement for foster care. As one of the chairmen of the HHS Appropriations on Health and Human Services, he was very involved and knowledgeable about the challenges with placement of children in foster care with significant behavioral health needs. So as a result, he assisted Lee County in securing funding to assist with emergency placements for foster youth in care. This funding has allowed Lee County DSS to use it for emergency placement needs, to provide enhanced payment rates to children awaiting appropriate placement. And with this funding, we have been able to avoid children sleeping in the DSS office on several occasions. So this funding is nearly exhausted, and staff is requesting the Board of Commissioners to allocate $200,000 of ARPA revenue loss funding to extend the ability for Lee County DSS to continue with this funding. This funding would provide some flexibility to provide enhanced placement payments for placement providers to avoid unnecessary placement disruptions for hard-to-place youth in custody. And then in addition, with the transition to Blue Cross Blue Shield through the Child and Family Specialty Plan, we have some concern that finding placement for this population may be harder to secure than it is currently. And this funding would allow us flexibility when leveled placement, and what I mean by leveled placement is when a child has been assessed and has been assessed for a higher need based on the challenges that they experience. It's what we call a level placement. And when that is not available, this kind of gives us some flexibility to negotiate with providers to provide an enhanced payment for a temporary solution until we can secure a level placement. And in addition, I do have in the audience Mr. Ray Ferreira, who is our program manager for child welfare, all of child welfare for social services. And so if you all have any questions regarding this agenda item, I'd be happy to help assist you with that.
I think I'm the one that's at fault for having you have to come up here. I'm sorry about that. The reason why I wanted to come here is we talked about in the past about foster families and who qualifies for foster families, right? And I think the big thing is, I just want to know where we're with that. If a grandparent wants to foster their child and they are capable but not financially capable, no money could be given to them to do that, correct?
So did you say no money could be?
Well, there were
used
some
to be.
monies that
Correct.
you couldn't give them money to help with like food costs if they didn't have the means, right?
So we used to not be, and I think what you're referring to is a few years back, the state provided what we call kinship placement funding. And so you are correct, we used to have very limited options in resources where we could help assist that grandparent who is raising a grandchild. But now we have what's called kinship payment, and so we handle foster care payments in a leveled system. So a level 1 is a basic licensed foster facility. And so what this kinship payment allows for is, like, if a grandparent who doesn't become a licensed placement provider, they can get half of the board rate. So now, currently, we would pay half of the standard board rate for a level 1 foster care home to that grandparent potentially.
But if she does get certified, then she can get.
Yep.
Because we used
Correct.
to won't be able to do that, so we got that
Yes.
solved. I just want to make sure that you're happy.
Yes.
And then, excellent.
Yes, and that would put a plug in to the public too. We are always recruiting, and we are in desperate need for individuals that want to become a licensed foster parent. Our caseload is growing. With population growth comes, challenges in our caseload is growing, and our foster carers are dwindling. And so if anybody's interested, please reach out to social services. We can connect you with a foster care placement social worker to give you some information on how to become a licensed foster home parent.
Thank you. Move to approve.
I'm sorry, I heard a motion.
Yes, move to approve.
Move to approve the addition of 200,000 for, excuse me. Moving, let's see, we are working to authorize the commissioners to move $200,000 of ARPA revenue loss funds for emergency placement funding for children experiencing foster care. Any further discussion?
Can I just ask one question?
Please, questions.
I remember, it's probably been 2 years ago, there was a foster care interest seminar that took place. I feel like it was in like January. Do you know if there's anything coming up, like with that need? Is there some type of seminar that we could put on? And again, it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I just remember it being in January just because there was like a kid's, game during it type thing. But I think that would be something that, like, I would like to see possibly with that need going, because there's so many questions that I know people have for foster care, and then maybe bringing like one or two, and this is less of a question now and is posed more of like
Absolutely.
one or two people who have done foster care. I just remember it being a really good like night that was, and it was at night so people could attend type thing. But I think that might serve the public good to be able to come in and ask those questions and have a couple foster parents be able to speak into what they've experienced and get those, because sometimes fear rules your mind more than anything, and I think being able to have those open conversations on what it actually looks like might help people to be able to sign up type thing.
Absolutely. And we're currently in the middle of doing our MAP training now to certified new foster parents. But absolutely, I'll take that suggestion back. I know that we have done events in the past, and so making that consistent and also making sure that we market it well is really important.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Reeves, questions?
No question. I'd just like to thank Commissioner Connect for looking into this and supporting it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Sharp?
Yes, sir, I can't think anything any better to spend $200,000 of our funds on than for, foster children. So.
Commissioner Lovick, questions?
No questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Martin, questions?
I had a chance to talk to Angelina for quite a while this week about this, and I just want to go on record saying Lee County specifically has a lot of people in your department who really go beyond and who look at each individual child. So thank you for all that you do.
We have a motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on, the next item is a request to apply allocated funding for conservation easement projects. Dr. Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board, Haley, I think we have a PowerPoint. Are you able to pull that up?
We did that one.
Well, I'll go ahead and get started while they're looking for that. Thank you, Board. Appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to come and speak with you tonight. I wanted to start by providing a quick recap of how we got to this point, and then provide an overview of the projects that you'll be hearing about tonight from Melissa Clunan from Triangle Land Conservancy. If you'll recall, in March 2025, this board voted in a significant gesture of support in establishing the Lee County Farmland Preservation Fund. This fund was established using rollback taxes, and of course those are dollars when property is sold out of present use value tax status, like farmland being sold for development. The landowner pays 3 years of back taxes plus current year taxes at the higher rate. At that same meeting, the Board of Commissioners voted to establish that fund with existing rollback taxes from the prior 2 years totaling $340,610, with the understanding that this fund could be renewed on an annual basis when new rollback taxes would come into the county general fund. This funding is requested on a project-specific basis and typically will leverage state and federal funding and landowner bargain sale dollars. And landowner bargain sale is basically land that is donated, land value that is donated by the landowner for the project. Local funding is hugely impactful for securing state funds, as projects with dedicated acquisition matches are scored at a much higher rate. The vetting process includes these projects going first before the Agricultural Advisory Board, which we'll detail here shortly, And then when the projects are approved, supported for funding, they then come to this board for funding approval. In just a minute, we're going to hear from Melissa Clunan from Triangle Lane Conservancy. Melissa will be discussing 3 conservation easement projects we're hoping to fund through the Lee County Farmland Preservation Fund. The Agriculture Advisory Board has voted to recommend all 3 projects to the board for your consideration. Tonight, we're asking to approve $28,160 in funds for the Ayers Family Farm easement. The 2 remaining project requests would require an amendment to the current policy specifying that funds may also be used beyond the coverage of soft costs. For technical compliance, this would require slightly altering the language to match the original intent of the policy, clarifying that farmland preservation funds may also be used for easement acquisition costs based on the specific funding needs of each unique project. If the board chooses to amend this policy, the remaining 2 requests recommended by the Agriculture Advisory Board would be brought back to this board at a future meeting. The remaining 2 requests would include Wildlife Lake Forest, which is the Howard Family Longleaf Tree Farm, and proposal in the amount of $78,000, as well as the Carl and Ida Jean Douglas Farm, proposal in the amount of $192,000. Before I turn it over to Melissa Clunan from Triangle Lane Conservancy, does the board have any questions for me?
Questions for Dr. Stone? Commissioner Martin?
No questions.
Commissioner Lovick?
None, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Connect?
You're still going to be around for later, right? Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
Not at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Reeves? Commissioner Sharp?
No questions.
No questions. All right, we'll move on.
Thank you.
All right, looks like
Afternoon,
we
Melissa.
may have the presentation. Are we good to go? Okay. Well, thank you for having me again, Melissa Clunan with Triangle Land Conservancy. Like Bill said, I have a few projects to present to you. Only one is that we're going to ask for a vote on tonight. But I wanted to give kind of an overview of all of them so that you can see the projects that are coming to us. If you can advance the slide. Not sure this. There should be one with a map. But I think y'all have this in your packets, right? Okay.
Yes.
We'll just roll with it then. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to highlight is the slide that has the map with the 3 properties shown on it. Hopefully we can get that up there, but I believe y'all have it in your packet. So all 3 projects that I am here to discuss are in the southern corner of Lee County. They're actually all within like just a few miles of each other in the Lemon Springs area. Oh, here we go. So this area is one of TLC's priorities for farmland preservation. There's a strong farm community there. There's also a high concentration of prime and statewide important soils, which is one of the primary things that we look at when we're doing farmland preservation projects. When you have farmland preservation in the same area, it creates a block of conserved farmland, which helps with urban sprawl and aligns well with the land use plan. So I will jump into the projects. You can go a couple more. So yes, perfect. Thank you. Oh, do I have this? The first project for your consideration is the Ayers Family Farm. I think most of you are familiar with this, and this is the only one we'll be asking for a vote on tonight. So this project is 74 acres total. Around 80% of those acres are prime or statewide important farmland soils, and that's established by the USDA Web Soil Survey. The Ayers Farm is enrolled in the Voluntary Ag District Program, which is a county-wide farmland recognition program, and it's adjacent to an additional 45 acres owned and farmed by the Ayers, so there's potential for future conservation here as well. The Ayers rotate crops, including produce that they sell at the farmer's market. They are also opening up a roadside stand at the farm, so definitely check them out. And then on the remainder of the tract, they have a forestry management plan where they are managing the timber. Thanks. So this is their estimated budget. So the TLC applied in 2023 to the state ADFP program. That's the column where you see ADFP. That money is from the state. We have $547,131 that is secured from the state for the easement purchase, and then an additional $40,100 for transaction costs. So the request is for $28,160 for the overages on some of those transaction costs associated with the easement due diligence, the survey, boundary signage, attorney fees, and then the stewardship and legal defense fund. And this was presented to the Ag Advisory Board in accordance with the policy in May, and they voted to fund it at this level.
And Melissa, can you tell them what the stewardship and legal defense fund is, just so they know?
Yeah. So that is a fund that is required, TLC is required as an accredited nonprofit land trust to have stewardship and legal defense funds for all of our easement, and that basically protects your investment, protects our investment in the property in perpetuity. So since these easements do last forever, we have staff that go out once a year and monitor all of our easements to make sure there's no violations, and it provides funding in case there was ever a violation and we had to defend the easement. And the state will only fund a portion of that. Any questions on this one?
Was there something where, now, they come off the farmland thing, so do they have to going forward, they have to pay property tax?
So they still stay in the present use value tax rate. So they're currently at that deferred value because they're in working land use, and the easement doesn't change that. So it'd be the same taxation.
I thought they came out of that when they went into the conservancy.
No, so the funding for the farmland preservation fund comes from when people sell out for like development. So if they stay in working lands use, they stay in present use value.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Vorbeck.
No, sir.
Commissioner Reeves, questions? Commissioner Sharp?
No.
Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Lovick?
None, thank you.
Okay, what I'd like to do is, seeing that we have the information here on this particular project, to vote for it now, and then we can go into the other two projects. So, do I have a motion to approve the Ayers Family Farm easement of $28,160?
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No?
May I have a show of hands for the ayes, please? And did you get that, Madam Clerk? Okay, thank you. Melissa, you now may go on.
Okay, thank you. So the next two, again, we're not voting on tonight, but I wanted to present them and offer the opportunity for any questions and discussion. The first is the Wildlife Lake Forest Conservation Easement Purchase. Again, this is one that y'all may be familiar with. So this is the Howard Family Farm. It is a longleaf pine tree farm. And so on this regional map that is showing up now, they are the project in red. And so the Ayers is the light green property on the Lee-Moore County line. The Howards is just off US 1 in red. You can go to the next slide. So this is a closer look at their project. So it is 190 acres for the easement area. Around 50% is prime or statewide important soils. Again, managed longleaf pine forest. They are a certified tree farm and have been a finalist for Outstanding Tree Farm of the Year. They're in the Longleaf Honor Roll. They're the first Lee County farm to be enrolled in the Longleaf Honor Roll. So just a really well-managed tree farm. Also enrolled in the Voluntary Ag District program. And this property has been an important part of the community, especially with the Boys and Girls Club for many years. I believe the current landowner's father was also involved in partnering with the Boys and Girls Club, and then now the landowners are continuing that and also are working with Extension to have the Lee County 4-H and I believe archery practice out at the property. And then Little Juniper Creek has its headwaters just across the street and runs through this property, so it's important for water quality as well. Their budget looks pretty different, and so There are a few reasons for this. So TLC is applying for a federal grant. So the column that says RCPP, everyone loves their acronyms, is a federal USDA grant that I'm currently working on with the landowners for 50% of the easement purchase. This grant recently came up and is ending in March, so we're getting it in under the wire, and we'll find out about the funding next year. I'm also planning on reapplying for a portion of the acquisition to the state. So I wanted to point this out because last year, ADFP, that state funding source that we rely on, had 100 easement applications. While we don't have a state budget yet, we know that their recurring funding that they typically get will allow them to fund 7 of those projects. So it is very unlikely that this project will get funded from last year's application. And I mention that because not only are the landowners in for the long game, they are also, these county funds are so critical for securing the state funding if they are put in on the front end. So the state is factoring this in at a higher rate now. They changed that last year, where if projects have secured county match, they are ranked significantly higher across the state. And so this is important for this project. It's even more important for the one we'll talk about after this. So that is the structure of this budget now. Again, the request is for a portion of the funding to go towards the conservation easement value, and then the remainder to cover those transaction cost overages. And I also wanted to point out that this and the following project went to the Ag Advisory Board in August, and they had a lot of really great discussion and ultimately voted to recommend it at a slightly reduced level than the original ask for a total of $78,000. And again, not looking for a vote on this one, but just wanted to present the projects. So the following is the Douglas Farm. This one is a newer project that y'all have not seen before, but another conservation easement purchase. And in, again, the same area, so it's only 1.5 miles, I believe, east of the Howard's property. So again, that conserved block of farmland. Some just nice pictures. It's 97 acres, so 70% prime soil. Around 60 acres are cropland, so they do a pretty standard rotation of tobacco, wheat, and soybeans. And then there's 40 acres of managed forests. You can kind of tell in this photo that the northwestern corner was timbered recently. This property was owned and farmed by the Douglases since the 60s, and now that they're not farming anymore, they lease it to another farmer, but they still do live on the property. And then the headwaters of Mare Branch are on this property and run into the Little River east of the property. So in this budget, TLC is currently working with the landowners for a state grant application, again, that ADFP column for $307,400. That is due at the end of the year, so I'm working with the landowners on that now, and we would find out next year. $42,422 for transaction costs. And then the landowners are willing to do almost 56% bargain sale. So that is a value of $622,962 for the easement. And then the request to the Ag Advisory Board, again in August, was for a slightly higher level, and they voted to recommend it at the total of $192,000, with $184,238 going towards the easement value. And again, I wanted to just emphasize that, so the percent of the total project is 16.5. That's about 16% basically for the easement purchase, which is really hugely critical for being able to secure that $307,000 from the state. And I wanted to close out with this slide and then take any questions that y'all may have, but this overview of all of the projects together just shows the Lee County contribution will be leveraged at a greater than 1-to-10 ratio as it's presented now. And so, again, those farmland funds are a total of $298,000, which leaves $42,450 in the pot, so to speak, based on what y'all approved in March. And it would protect 360 acres. I think, following the rezone request, I just wanted to point out the acreage is almost an acre per acre exchange of taking some property out of working lands and then preserving 360 acres of active farmland forever with a one-time expense of $828 per acre for the county. These projects are all really strong projects that are ready to go with willing landowners who are committed to significant bargain sales and have, currently approved or active grant applications, and that county commitment is so appreciated and so critical for the limited state and federal funding that we have these days. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Questions for Melissa? Commissioner Martin?
Two. All of the county's interaction with the funding need is always going to be critical. Is that correct? I mean, that's in fact the requirement. So each is as critical as the next?
Yeah, so we structure, you can tell obviously just between these three projects, the budgets are very different. And so it depends on if certain tracts are, we can apply for different grants for different properties, and also landowner expectation and desire and, property value. So, but yes, they are all critical. And again, the primary thing is that the state looks at the county commitment. So that's a huge reason for the county request.
Understood. What, has there been any thought, if the board were to decide to move forward with all three of these and our account were to go down to 40,000 from when upon our first request, what do you think, have you considered what needs to be asked for next to replenish the fund?
So I think when we first, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when we first kind of brought this to you all and voted on it, there's discretion from the board to either do this on an annual basis with the existing rollback as it comes in. So that would be something for you all to consider as properties are continuing to be sold out of present use value and those monies are coming into the budget, if this is a priority for the rollback taxes to be put towards.
I understand that.
Does that make sense?
Has there been is there any knowledge of a number that we're looking at for this?
That's what I'm trying to do. It's not letting me do it from this network. So I don't know what the rollback number is. I don't know if Mr. Brown might know what's taken in fiscal year '25 for rollbacks. No, not off the top of his head. I apologize.
Thank you.
I will get you that information, though, after the meeting.
Commissioner Lovick?
No question, just to comment, I think we see how important it is to save our farmlands with, the city and county. We just approved 400 some acres for light industrial, so I think this proves if we do want to stay agriculture-looking county, how important it is to protect this. Thank you.
Commissioner Connect?
Dr. Stone, I think when this came up the first time, I requested that maybe we look into sending, from your department a letter to the state, because I think the number one cause of land being eaten up is city sprawl, right? Because they can go out of the 5 mile in this county, where I think there's only one other county in the state that can do that. So this is something that Commissioner Lover just talked about. Those landholders had to decide, does the county keep control of that land by allowing the development to go through, or does the city annex that land and then they have no control? The neighbors have no more control, right? So I don't know, where were we with that letter? Did we get that out?
No, that letter hasn't gone out. I would like to get together if we could and talk a little more specifically about, I guess, what the criteria or what would be included in that letter, just to make sure I'm fully understanding.
I think the main thing is going back to the way it used to be, where the city can annex things within their, connected property, but reaching out beyond 5 miles and annexing anything they want, I think that's what creates a lot of this farmland from being taken. And you can mitigate that, what you're trying to do here, mitigate that by going back to the way it used to be.
Okay.
Right? So asking our representatives to say, hey, let's follow the rest of the counties in the state by mandating the city can annex around itself. What do you call that zone? TJ or something?
Contiguous. Oh, ETJ.
Yeah.
Dr. Connect, if it would be okay, I think the plan for us is to revisit the board at one of your October meetings to discuss these two projects a little bit further and the policy revisions. At that point, I'll look and see what information I can get for you related to any state statutes on that.
I just figured that you guys would be really concerned about that, because it does gobble up a lot of that farmland. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
If you could just, and I know you summarized both with the new Douglas farm, I'm having trouble understanding the numbers, and it might be because of they've got more percentage of prime soil acreage versus, the Douglas farm. So I guess I'm trying to figure out why one is costing more than both projects combined and has roughly like almost the least amount of acreage.
Actually, I like the way it rolled back on Douglas Farm and previous.
One slide back. I don't know if I have control of this, sorry.
And I understand the landowner donation is different, so I guess I'm just trying to figure out where the numbers come, and it's more posed, if you need to get me more information for the October meeting, that's where I'm struggling on why that number versus, because also if we're gonna kind of move this pot to a zero, I'd like to know why.
So the amount for acquisition on the Douglases versus the other two? Yeah, so every project is very different, depending on size and value for sure. But primarily the reason is because the state changed the way that they score projects. And so now basically almost in order to get state funding, it's,
Same thing with roads.
they look at the county match component. And so we don't have the Howards have the ability for the federal grant, and the Douglases didn't based on timing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of moving forward, and correct me if I'm wrong, moving forward, applications like the Douglas Farm will be closer to something along this lines than it would be with the Howards and the Ayers, correct? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't want to hold you to the fire on that one, but that's kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah, just again, and I hate to be like, it depends, but
Yeah.
Yes, I would say, there's definitely a need for the funding for acquisition. I think the percentage will vary a lot depending on sometimes the state gets like non-recurring funds and they can fund a lot more projects. Sometimes there are other grants we're able to tap into, like the federal grant that's in the Howard's budget. So it'll just depend, but there will be line items for acquisition, yeah.
Okay.
If you guys approve that.
Does the Land Conservancy have any money in its coffers from donations?
Does what?
Does the trust have any private donations?
Sometimes we do, but primarily not for land projects, so
What are they usually for?
like operations.
I'm sorry?
Operations
Just operations?
and programs, other programs, yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yeah, could you just explain the numbers on the right-hand side there?
The totals?
Who does what?
Yeah, so each column of the budget, you mean?
No, I'm talking about in the print,
Oh, yes.
three on the side.
Yeah.
$307,000.
Yeah, so the top one, the 307,400, I am working with the landowners on an application to the state. They have a farmland trust fund that has a competitive grant cycle every year. And so that's a current application for state funding. And then the 184,238 would be the Lee County funding.
Who pays the $42,000 on the first?
Also the state. That one's for transaction costs. So the 307,400 would be for the actual purchase of the easement, and then the 42,422 would be for like the survey, the environmental site assessment, things like that. And the state has caps on those, and so that's why we are looking at the overages.
Yeah, I've seen so much. I'm trying to think, who pays that 42?
The state. If we get the grant application awarded, the state would pay that.
And the 77?
The 7,762 would be included in the Lee County request.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Sharp?
I don't have any.
Okay. Just for clarification, we're dealing with a state that doesn't have a budget is helping create this problem for us? how much of the federal government's DOGE operation impacted this project?
For these specific projects, none. So we do have one federal grant application in. I won't know how much funding will be available in that until next year or the end of this year. So unsure, but for these specific projects, other than kind of tangentially trickle-down impacts, there is no federal grants that were pulled from these projects.
Just for everybody's edification, in the manager's report is the TRC report, and with the technical review committee, we have 192.4 acres in the county at Blacks Chapel Road and Sheriff Watson Road that they're proposing 148 houses. And it's just more farmland that's outside the reach of the city, and unfortunately, obviously, the landowner decided to sell it for a developer, so just to give you some more input on that. Seeing there are no other questions, we've got a hard decision down the road to determine if we're going to change our policy. Do know that we do have a substantial amount of money that you're asking for, which will drain down our overall fund. My question is if we have no rollback monies coming in the next couple of years, we're not going to be able to do anything.
Understood.
It is what it is. We have the school board here. And we only have 52 entities that we have to fund on top of that. So nothing further? No other questions?
Well, for staff, so what the board would like to see is the changed policy that would make it clear that they could also be used for the conservation easement purchase and bring that back to the board at the October meeting? Is that, just so we know what to do?
What's the change of, I guess now
Yeah,
I'm
so-
confused on what the
Our
change of
policy was to cover the soft costs, to help with the farms that we're going to apply to cover the soft costs,
Okay.
like with the heirs.
Yes.
But to actually do the conservation easement purchases was above and beyond what our policy was.
The one that we just adopted in
March.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious, Whitney, do you have the policy with you as written?
It's on the agenda.
Okay. I didn't know if we wanted to read that.
We can read that if you would like us to.
If that's okay,
That's
just the current.
multiple pages. You want to read that?
No, just the modifications that would be.
I didn't make the modifications yet. I did not go through that
No problem.
process until I knew what the board wanted to do.
Okay, no problem, thank you.
Okay. No other questions, thank you. We'll move on. The
Are you
attorney is
requesting-
asking.
I think, are you requesting that we make a decision tonight if we would like to rewrite the policy to include above and beyond soft costs?
That would be great, just so we can know what to bring back on the October 6th.
Thought
We
that's
can
what
bring
you're
the
asking,
policy
right.
and the two requests back that night.
Do we need a motion on that?
Or at least direct consensus, like is the direction yes to do that?
I'm going
I
to
would
make a motion that we, well, I would make a motion that we sit with the policy that we have and not make changes on the first request.
All right, you've heard the motion to maintain the current policy as it is. Any further discussion?
I'm not sure we really know what the current policy is.
I know, you're coming
Well,
back
we're
in
just-
October, right?
Yeah, the
You
current
said you're
policy says we're
presenting
just
back in October?
helping with
Okay.
soft costs.
Can I,
Sure, but we adopted the policy.
Yeah, so the policy's
We all
on the
reviewed it.
agenda, and it was as part of the policy and as part of the presentations and what the board adopted at that time were for the soft costs for the purchase of the easement, so the attorney fees, the transactional costs, and which is what you all voted on the heirs property. The other two properties are asking for, if you see that first the first column is the conservation easement value, and so that is actually going to the purchase of the easement. So that is going to like the property owner, not those such transactional soft costs. So We just would like to make it clear in the policy that the board wants to allow the purchase of conservation easement value, which would then allow you to, for the two other, properties.
Are you clear on our policy, sir?
I know what I'm hearing, I don't know what we're trying to change. I understand you're trying to stick with the soft cost arguments.
Correct.
That's what
That's
correct.
the
And then we
motion
would just
is.
be expanding it by bringing it back. We would make the changes in the policy and bring it back.
Any other discussion? The motion is to maintain the policy as we have it. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on.
Thank you.
Next item, new business.
Can I ask a request that, I know we changed to state, but if you're coming back in October, I would like more time to be able to even, I mean, I know we've got to direct staff to what that looks like, but on something we just voted on in March, I'd like to be able to dive down in a little bit more on what that looks like and what they're actually requesting. And I just don't think tonight is like the best night to be able to go back and forth on what they're asking and what that looks like. And I still don't fully understand the 90s, like, I don't know. I would request more time. And if you could come back in October, if you and I can have a discussion and come back to one of the October meetings and maybe possibly look at what we're actually asking for.
Projects that were presented earlier this evening in the presentation. I know the motion that was just adopted was to maintain the policy as written, but if it's the board's desire to see a draft of what that would look like, there's no commitment to be made to see that draft. It's if they want to see that at the October meeting. But unless we get that direction based on the course of the action that was taken, I'm not sure that we would bring it to the October meeting, if that makes sense.
I guess I would also like to know what happened from March to now, and that's just more my conversation.
If I understand correctly, it was state and federal funding.
I would agree, that's a part of it. I think the change in state and federal funding, the availability of funding, but I think as the county attorney and I spoke last week, we just wanted to ensure that there was no uncertainty or ambiguity in that language. I mean, when I came back in March and talked with the group, the focus was on soft costs, but I don't think the message was that would only exclusively be the cost that would be requested for these projects. And as the attorney and I discussed, we just wanted to make sure if a policy was going to the board, especially related to two projects that would request easement funding, we wanted to be very clear and make sure the board was comfortable with the language in the policy. So if there is a draft of a policy that the board would like to consider or mull over, because I guess with no policy in place or no policy change, the two projects that we would bring to the next meeting, in essence, we wouldn't even need to bring those to you if there was no looking at that policy or no potential revisions. And again, I guess I would remind everybody that a policy change wouldn't bind the board to any decisions on any particular project. It would just open up or allow the board to support projects that requested easement funding as part of the request. So I guess in some ways it's not gonna back you into a corner either way about specific projects. It would just open up the projects that you would be able to support through funding. Does that provide some clarity?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We're moving on.
Thank you.
Lee County Schools Needs-Based Public School Capital Fund Grant Application Request is on the agenda. Lisa Minter.
Yes, sir. We have received an request from the school board to approve their application to the Needs-Based Public School Capital Fund grant through the lottery. This grant typically requires a 5% match, but in this case, based on the cost of the school, et cetera, they are asking for us to agree to $14,242,470. In addition to that, we would have to pay the cost of the land acquisition. So, Dr. Dossenbach is here if you have any additional questions on the application.
Questions for Lisa? Commissioner Sharp?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Reeves?
You say $14 million?
Yes, sir. We would take for us to meet the requirement, because of the estimated cost of the school would be $14,242,470, because the max they can get through this grant is $42 million. Plus, we would still have to pay the cost of the land.
Have you already got that figured out?
The cost of the land? No.
I do know the school board hired a commercial realtor. Commissioner Vorbeck?
What year would the land need to be purchased if it were to be approved? Trying to find
As soon as they could probably find something that they would bring to us, they would probably be asking us to go ahead and make the purchase. And we had, prior to the most recent CIP adoption, we had money set aside in the CIP for them,
For the
for land
elementary school.
purchase.
Okay. So I guess I'm trying to figure out the timetable on money needed.
I
know.
believe, Dr. Dossenbach can
When-
speak to that better
when-
than I do. I
and
think
I-
they're
remind me-
expecting
Thank
it
you,
to
sir.
run over 3 years, a time period of 3 years if they get the grant.
When is and remind me again, the grant decision is in February, January?
We have to have the application in by
No, I
October
know.
3rd.
I'm saying when they would I can't remember when the application decisions are. I know your application's due in October.
Right, so typically for this grant, we would find out about 2 months.
2
is
months,
what's
okay.
been,
Okay.
what's been tradition, so I would assume sometime in December or January.
Okay. I knew it was around there. Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Connect, questions?
Thanks.
Commissioner Lovick?
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
I just want some clarification on what was said earlier. Are they asking, is the school asking, the Lee County Schools asking for 14 million, or is that the requirement match to the grant?
My understanding is they are submitting a grant application to build a new elementary school. The estimated cost of that new elementary school is $56,001,480. Based on their calculations, they would be able, and the restrictions of the grant, they would be able to get $41,759,010 in grant, which leaves the $14,242,470 to complete the school. And we would have to be committed to that before they could be awarded the
Right,
42,
okay.
or the 41,759.
Good, thank you. And I know that there's talk of land that would be needed for this school. The easiest thing would be to buy a plot of land if we were to put a new school in, right? But I just want to put out there that there has been talk in this community since I've been on the Board of Commissioners about, let's try not to laugh here, but working with the city who is grabbing land to put these housing developments on and working with developers to get a parcel of land on which to put a school. My understanding, again, this was before my time here, but my understanding was that was even presented up in the Galvin's Ridge area. So I don't want to worry too much. I don't want the lands, for me, I'm just thinking, I don't want to not consider this because of the land concerns. And am I correct in understanding that there is no land right now that the school has on which this school could be? Is that correct?
The only piece of property where enough land for the school to go would be the Jonesboro site.
Right.
The issue with that is there's one entrance and
Yeah,
exit, and
to
unless
the DOT.
DOT would be
Yep.
willing to purchase land
Right.
And make an additional entrance. That would not be an option for a new school build.
Yeah, thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the Lee County Schools Needs-Based Public School Capital Fund Grant Application Request?
Motion to approve the request.
I have a motion to approve. Any further discussion? And based on the public comments made earlier, I'm just going to hold Mr. Rummel accountable for making sure that it doesn't go over 56,000.
Knowing Mr. Roman, it'll come in under 56,000.
56 million, excuse me.
Yeah.
It's been a long day.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm being facetious, sir.
I've got a question regarding redistricting. When's the last time we had one?
Question is regarding redistricting, sir. There's the expert.
So it has been probably decades since that was, well, obviously when you build a new school, so when W.B. Wicker was done, a little of that was done, but prior to that it would be San Lee. A part of what the NC State group that gave us these projections is we also asked them to give us the feasibility of a redistricting plan. Their response to that was the rate of our growth does not support a redistricting because by the time you get around to doing that, you still need a new school and will then have to redistrict again.
It goes with the high school as well?
The question, go ahead, speak in the mic,
Does that,
please.
that include the high school? And I'm building a new high school. Does that redistricting count for the high schools as well?
That included K-12.
But you're not building a new high school, you're building a new elementary school. So would you look at redistricting just for the high schools?
We're not quite as at the same capacity issue at high school as we are in elementary.
I mean, there was a capacity issue. You had to put some extra, you're looking for extra room out in Southern Lee, and there may be room at Lee Senior as potential.
We are. The issue is there's only about a 200-person difference between the two schools, and so redistricting won't get you a whole lot of wiggle room there anyway.
Now, the other question, I know this is not what we're going to discuss about, but, you know, we looked at a lot of these schools, and a lot of them were built to expand, and then I asked this in the past, and then they said we can't expand on certain particular elementary schools just because we got septic out there that use a lot of land. Then we just found out this wasn't you. Now we just found out there is no septic, everything is fed by sewer, by city sewer. So that isn't an issue. Now, then we're told we can't expand because the cafeteria isn't big enough. So if these schools were in essence built to expand, which can save some money, and you can strategically increase the sizes where you need them, why is the size of a cafeteria a hindrance to expand on a school? Because you can also expand that as well.
So the issue with that becomes you can only have so many students in the cafeteria at a time.
You can expand the cafeteria.
So, you know, you can certainly expand the cafeteria if the footprint on the land will allow you to do that with septic and sewage and so forth.
Well, there's no septic anymore. I'm told we're all fed by city sewers. There is no septic fields.
Right. You know, certainly looking at that would just depend on the specific school. Now, I will say that I can't speak to why that wasn't done in the past. I can tell you that.
And that's what I'm saying. It wasn't you, but I have
Right.
brought this up in the past, and we keep getting pushback, something. Well, maybe the gym isn't big enough, or the cafeteria isn't big enough, or, you see what I'm saying? So I think, who did most of our schools? Height, did Height do it? Was he wrong? Were they wrong?
Yeah, I can't speak to that. What I can speak to is essentially what was done is the school was placed on the property to expand, but the core of the construction was not built to expand. The goal of a new elementary school should be awarded this grant would be to build all of the facilities, bathrooms, gym, library, cafeteria, so that it can hold the full 850 students that you eventually expect to be there.
Well, so can you show me in the future, obviously, let's say Deep River School, how it's laid out and why it cannot be expanded? Let's just start with one school. And then show me on a piece of land, so I get a visual, how it looks, why this is not a feasible thing. Maybe making two buildings, 4 through 5 and 1 through 3 in one and 4 through 5 in another, for example. And have two separate buildings corrected by an easeway, to change that particular issue of just one building, you know, as a means of expanding. So can you just show that to me? We'll just start with one school. We'll start with Deep River. That way we can put some of these things to rest.
Yeah, I can't show you that tonight but I mean, we can certainly put that together and give you examples of all the reasons why at certain sites that wouldn't be able to happen.
Yeah, we'll just start with the Deep River, and then we'll go from there. So I work on better on visuals. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions?
Elementary.
K through 5.
You're welcome, ma'am. You had the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on. We have a request to appear. Mr. Bob Joyce, do we have visuals up here?
We will.
Are you getting them, Colin?
Okay, I think we're good. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Bob Joyce, 313 Westport Place in Sanford. And with me tonight are Rick Prather, CEO, and Chris Guston, environmental manager with the company, and also Dennis Wicker, whose law firm represents the company, which we'll talk more about in a minute. We're really pleased to be here tonight to talk to you about an exciting project that we think will be very, very meaningful to the county and have a very positive outcome for a long time to come. So like the children's story of the ugly duckling, we think this project will transform a blighted site into something really beautiful, and hence the name Project Swan, something that people will brag about. So there we go. Want to talk a minute about the site. The site is a 116-acre parcel located on Colon Road at the intersection with Amos Bridges. And of course, everybody in Lee County is familiar with the bad railroad track that you jump over on Colon Road, so it's just past that. Since 1920, this has been a heavy industrial area. This was the original site of Sanford Brick from 1920 to 1945. This site, in particular, was used for mining and manufacturing of brick. It's across the road, as you can see, from Pfizer and Cat in Enterprise Park. And it's about 4 football fields through the woods to Barat Forge. You can see the site here. It's has not been used for some time. It was used for clay mining. It hasn't been used since the early 70s. This photo shows a remaining part of the old brick plant. Timber has been cut on a portion of the site. Most of the site is covered with small pines and undergrowth. And water has collected in the former clay mining pits. These are 2 of the more than 30 pits that are on the property. Some parts of the site are open, and of course, like every vacant piece of property in Lee County, if you don't put a gate up, there are 4-wheeler trails all through here. The next site, the next portion of the site is this is a cutover view of part of the site on Amos Bridges Road. And as you can tell, this is just a rough and ugly site. So here's the aerial view. You can make out some of the clay pits. The land is bordered in blue. Across Colon Road, of course, are the 2 new industrial buildings. SBS, Service Building Supplies, the larger building, and then the ABC Supply is up on Colon Road, the smaller building. And you can tell that the Norfolk Southern Railroad track bisects this property from northwest to southeast. And then we also put a view of the tax map, which clearly shows all of the ponds, the clay pits that are on the property. All right, the project. The proposed project is a recycling center and a C&D landfill, similar to the one that you are looking at right now. Materials accepted at the site would include items like landscaping and construction debris, rock, solid waste, soils, waste lumber, sheetrock, brick, concrete, and some of these materials will be recycled. Some would be deposited in the landfill. Recycling would be about 50% of the operation at the site. And I'd like to make a special point here. You know, there are two types of landfills. One is the municipal solid waste, that's household garbage, business garbage. That's your brown trash. If you live in the city, that's your brown trash can that you haul to the street. This project is not a municipal solid waste landfill. This would only be construction debris, meaning that the odors and gases and toxicity that are associated with an MSW facility are not associated with this project. Essentially, these are materials that are, you know, made from the earth, brick, lumber, that are returned to the earth. The recycling part of the project, the sustainable part, will separate materials, screen them, crush what can be recycled, and put them back in the market, crushed rock, mulch, etc. The site is already zoned correctly. It's zoned heavy industrial, as it has been for a long time. And this project is not asking for any economic development incentives. The request is your authorization for staff to begin development of a franchise agreement which would allow the company to operate this facility. And that franchise agreement would be adopted at a later time with the board. We think there's some significant economic benefits to the project. The project really does transform an ugly site. It's very consistent with what has happened in this area for 100 years. It adds 15 good jobs and an investment of between $10 and $15 million. It gives our local contractors a nearby option for their construction waste instead of hauling it miles away. And we get a confidence in knowing that you're working with a good, strong partner that knows the business. And of course, as I mentioned, this use is allowed by right in heavy industrial zoning. We believe that this would be one of the highest and best uses of this site because other uses in heavy industrial zoning, which are permitted by right, chemical, fertilizer plants, tire plants, animal slaughtering, junkyards, hazardous waste, all these uses are allowed, which we think would not be consistent, of course, with this area. The company spends a lot of time and effort on making sure they are up on all the latest technology. C&D facilities are required to be lined. The water is collected, it's monitored, it's pre-treated. Prior to operation, of course, the company would receive all applicable permits from the Department of Environmental Quality in Raleigh. Just a word about the company. Liberty Waste Solutions operates 11 other facilities in North Carolina. The management is located at their facility close by in Raleigh. The company has extensive experience and the financial strength to make this project a success. And next, I think this is the most exciting part of the project for us. When the facility is closed, it's the company's intention to turn the property over to the city or the county or a combination or nonprofit for use as community space. For example, walking trails, hiking trails. This picture is a nearby example of that type of transformation. So let me underline this point. The end result of this is a park. Here's the example. Green Hills County Park in northern Wake County is on the site of a former landfill. There are walking trails and water features, picnic shelter, open space, play areas, family bike paths, running trails, plus areas for pets. Green Hills Park in Wake County is only 36 acres, so about the size of Kiwanis Park. A park the size of this property, over 100 acres, would be a significant asset, we think, for the county. we've made some big decisions in our community that look to the future: airport, community college, putting a water plant out at the river years ago, consolidating our city and county schools before most of the state did. And these decisions transformed our community. It took some fortitude to make these decisions, but they proved to be wise and visionary and very positive for our community and the families that live here. And we see this as one of those projects, transforming a blighted site into a beautiful community asset. So rather than let me go over next steps because of where we are on the agenda, I'll let Ms. Parrish go over those next steps. And of course, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Commissioner Martin?
Yeah. Is this limited, so this cannot be limited to Lee County? What is the geographical whole for this?
Generally speaking, it would be an area between 60 and 70 miles, but that would depend on a lot of things, but generally 60 to 70 miles.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lovick?
How many years are you expecting to fill it up before it can become green space or whatever? Is there a projection on that?
Yes, there is. We currently project between 15 and 18 years. It's a little difficult to be exactly precise because of it's based on the economy. It's based on housing construction here. An example would be the River Birch redevelopment. There's a lot of deconstruction that will have to happen at that site if it's developed, and so that material would go to this type of facility. And if we were to have a lot of that redevelopment activity, then it might be on the 15-year end. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Connect. Commissioner Borbeck.
Could you just kind of reiterate the types of,
Debris.
waste that would be?
Okay.
That's not, I would say probably the list is probably better on what is not going to be able to come to your facility.
So what would not be allowed would be any municipal waste, any hazardous waste, any sort of business garbage waste. Those type of things would not be allowed. Chris, I might call on you to, are there any other things that you could talk about?
And state your name, please.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, state your
Okay.
name and
So,
your
Bob
address,
is correct. Municipal solid waste, typically your household waste that you would see coming out of your kitchen, or wherever you throw your waste away in the home. That material is not allowed in a construction and demolition facility. Household hazardous waste also not included. Things like paints, solvents, materials like that would not be allowed in the facility.
Can we get your name, Chris, as well as your address for the record?
I'm sorry?
Your name, address.
My name is Chris Guston, and my address is 136 Dorsey Day Road, Roxborough, North Carolina.
Thank you.
And I
Sorry,
think
did we answer your
it did.
question?
Thank you. So no diapers are going to be dropped off.
Commissioner Reeves.
I have
Oh,
one
I'm
more.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And then you had mentioned, I know in our previous discussion about a type of, I don't want to use the words recycling, but a reuse in some of the materials that would be coming. Could you address that?
Yeah, so with some brick and concrete that's brought in, that would be crushed and reused as a driveway fill aggregate to be reused. Also, wood waste, clean wood waste that would be crushed and then sold as mulch. That would also be back in the marketplace. So the goal is to limit the amount of items that have to go into the ground.
Thank you.
Commissioner Reeves.
You mentioned Green Hill. Is it located within a community or housing development by any chance?
There are housing it's in northern Raleigh, up on US 1, going towards Roseville in Wake County. So yes, there are housing areas around the area. It's out at the Neuse River crossing.
Commissioner Sharp?
None.
I do have a question. Do you allow field trips to one of your facilities that you displayed on the screen?
Absolutely.
Field trips? We'll need to coordinate a field trip. How many would like to go? Field trip for the commissioners? No.
Student field trip.
Would very much like to see a facility in operation, and then we can go visit Green Hills Park.
I was like, that is not on the list of fun.
Not
It would
interested,
be, it
Commissioner
would be
Reeves?
for young boys.
Probably.
Tractor.
It depends on who's driving.
The company has a facility in Randolph County, so that it's not
That would
a
be
long field trip.
Yeah, we would like to do that. Any further questions? Okay.
I have one more question. Did I miss what you said about the materials would go into some sort of a leak-proof basin? Is that correct?
Yes, I described it as a bathtub, and Chris said, yes, a bathtub with a straw in it. So as the things are deposited in the landfill, of course, they're covered with dirt. And that cover, when it rains, will shed water. Some water will run off, but some will, go down into the ground. And it's collected, it's monitored, it's pre-treated before it's put into the sewer system.
Thank you.
No further questions? Thank you, Bob. Next item on the agenda is the update to Chapter 22 Solid Waste, Lee County Code of Ordinance. I trust everyone had a chance to read it. Very informative. It is now up to date. Whitney, would you like to go from there?
So I'll take this and then going back to Bob's, sort of what are the next steps. So I know it's getting late. This is going to be kind of a lot of information. So bear with me. And if you have questions as I go through it, please stop and ask me because I'm going to do sort of two things. So the first thing that's on the agenda tonight, this the next item, is that once staff learned of the proposed ask by Liberty Waste, we realized that they were going to need to ask for a franchise. The first thing we did was go ahead and take a look at our current solid waste ordinance. So worked with the solid waste superintendent and went through that. It hadn't been updated, I believe, since 2008. So we needed just to go through and update the current solid waste ordinance. I can go through some of the bigger changes that we made, and then what I'll ask at the end of that presentation, if the board is willing and has a desire, you all can vote to approve those changes tonight. A sample motion is at your seat. And that would sort of be the first step in the next steps that will be coming forward. So I'm going to start with the first thing first, which is the solid waste changes. So Article 3, some of the changes that were made in there detailed the provisions of the county collection sites, which is our convenience centers. So we just sort of clarified some information about the decals, clarified that only one large load is going to be allowed per a 7-day period, what waste is not accepted at those sites, and then this section still allows for private collectors to be allowed to collect waste within the county. The next article that we made some changes to was Article 4, where we just made recycling encouraged as opposed to mandatory. Article 5, that was just kind of reiterating that no one shall transport waste without it being covered, would prevent spilling, and that no one can transport waste without first obtaining any local, state, or federal permits or permissions, depending on what is required. Article 7 governs the private solid waste collectors. And we just clarify that they need a license from the General Services Department. They do not have to have a franchise. So the solid waste collectors are your private, and Amber's here if I mess up. So the solid waste superintendent. The private waste collectors are the companies who collect in the county and then take to our collection sites. And then the license can be revoked by the county. Then we clarified in Section 8 that a franchise is required for any landfill. And then we went through Section 9 about franchising solid waste disposal sites. So this is where we made it clear that if anyone wants to have a solid waste disposal site, they would have to submit an application with the Board of Commissioners through the county manager on forms prescribed by the county manager. And then the board can grant a franchise upon a finding that the applicant would render prompt, efficient, and continuing service to the area for which the franchise is granted, and that the applicant has sufficient equipment and personnel to render service to the persons generated the solid waste. And then there have to be a contract. So that sort of foreshadows what's going to be coming forward with the ask from Liberty Waste. So like I said, at this table, all that is asked of you tonight is updating our solid waste ordinance. Our general statute 15345 sets forth the requirements of adopting an ordinance, and to be adopted at the meeting it's first introduced, which this is tonight because we haven't introduced this before. The ordinance must receive the approval of all members. If the board is all here and present and votes in the affirmative, then that motion can occur tonight. And essentially what I would be asking is that you all make a motion to, because we did such an overhaul of the solid waste ordinance, that you repeal in the entirety the current solid waste ordinance and put in its place the solid waste ordinance that's on the agenda tonight to make it effective tonight. So I can stop there if the board wants to address that, and then I can move forward.
Questions for Whitney? Commissioner Sharp? Commissioner Reeves?
No.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
I just want to confirm that nothing that was changed in, so if we repeal the current and add in the new version, each solid waste ordinance that would, or entity that would come would still have to do this type of procedure, correct?
Correct. So
Okay.
are you talking about any
Yes.
Yes, so anyone who
It
wants.
doesn't null and void, like, it's not a one-for-all, like everyone would need to come up with the same type of ordinance, or I mean, still the same type of application.
The license, so are you talking about the solid waste collectors, the
No, I'm-
licenses, or franchises?
The franchise, I'm sorry.
They would have to come and submit an application to
Perfect.
the board.
Okay.
And as of right now, there aren't any franchises that exist.
Yes. Okay.
Commissioner Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick?
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
I'm good also, but I have one general question.
Okay.
And it may be, you tell me where it needs to be directed. Is there anything in the policy, or is there a way to address at all the trash that is often coming off of these covered vehicles? I mean, we all know the trash, roadside trash is just incredible.
Right, so they're supposed to be covered, and we have enforcement officers, but if you want to ask any more detailed questions, I can.
I don't
But
really
generally
need-
speaking, we do have
I
enforcement
just,
officers that try to.
less questions, I know it's the end of the night, but I guess the only question I would have is there a way to make that requirement more restrictive, like lessen the possibility of trash being spewed all over the roads? So maybe it is a question.
Good question. Amber, do you have any ideas offhand or something we can bring back? I don't know if it's something necessarily that we put in the ordinance, but maybe policy changes. I'll turn to you.
So we do have an enforcement officer for Lee County. His name is Thomas Collins. And there is a $100 litter fine if you get caught. But again, sometimes it's really hard to do because they don't leave their information when they do it most of the time. But some counties do have a cover your load where if you come in and you don't have a tarp, then you can't dump at the facilities, so.
We don't have that?
We have where, I guess it's more of a request that it is, but we don't currently turn people away for not covering their load.
That's concerning. So, but it's not in the ordinance? I don't want to get up too off task here,
Correct, it's
right?
not in the ordinance, but I don't know why that's something we couldn't look at in terms of a policy, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily in the ordinance, but maybe as something we can look at in terms of a policy and implement it at the convenience centers there.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to do two things. I would like to move to, I'll read through this and see if we can get this going tonight, but I'd also like to get on record that we would like to look at that policy of making sure that everything is covered and secured before it's moved down the roads.
Okay.
Thank you. So shall I read this?
Yes.
Please.
I move to repeal the current Chapter 22 Solid Waste Ordinance in its entirety and replace it with the new version of the Chapter 22 Solid Waste Ordinance codified in the Lee County Code of Ordinances with the effective date of September 15th, 2025.
And to compliment the staff in putting this together. They've
Lovely.
been working hard on it.
Perfect. There it
Okay.
is.
You've heard the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I-
sorry,
Okay,
I'm not done.
go.
Okay, thank you. So my understanding is that the request from the Liberty Waste Solutions is that they would like to submit an application to receive a franchise from the Board of Commissioners. So as they have already indicated, that site is zoned heavy industrial, so there doesn't have to be any type of rezoning request that has to occur. It's just the franchise. So I'm going to give the board a little bit of information on what adopting a franchise will look like, and then there's a little more added wrinkle in this one because of the solid waste aspect of it. So the general statutes 153A46 require a franchise ordinance. So essentially what we'll have is we've adopted this solid waste ordinance. Now we'll then have a franchise ordinance which will basically be an ordinance saying, okay, Liberty Waste or whoever applies at some point, we grant you this franchise to conduct your business here, and then there will be a contract. And this is a good foreshadowing for EMS that will be coming up also in a month. So the statutes require a franchise ordinance to be passed at 2 regular Board of Commissioner meetings. This request specifically with General Statute 130A 294B13 requires the Board of Commissioners to conduct a public hearing before granting a sanitary landfill franchise, and that public hearing on the franchise ordinance must be published 30 days prior to the hearing and must include very specific information as to what is on the application. So we have, staff has sort of gone ahead and taken the liberty of drafting a draft application because we knew this request was coming. Have some waiting to receive that depending on the solid waste ordinance passing tonight. But the application does ask for specific and detailed information. Some of the information that's been provided tonight, but others including like the location, the owner's names, geographic area, volume and characteristics of the waste stream, useful life of the facility, the procedures to be followed for governmental oversight and regulation of fees, the proposed host fee, the proposed rates to be charged, like the tipping fee, and any discounts for county or county residents, the proposed facility plan that includes the boundaries, the proposed development of the site, boundaries of the waste disposal units, evaluations and capacity, amount of waste to be received per day in tons, total waste capacity in tons, and description of environmental controls. So we have to have that application and all of those detailed information and documents in order to notice the public hearing. The application also has to be placed on file at the local library for the public to review. So if we can get that, my understanding is if we can get that information say by like Wednesday at lunch, we can draft the proposed public hearing notice, it needs to be in by Saturday to hold that public hearing at our second meeting in October. If for some reason that shifts and we can't get it, or we can't get it drafted, everything will just need to be pushed back, but it has to have a 30-day notice. So what you will see coming up in the future will be, we'll publish a public hearing notice. Well, first of all, we'll receive an application, we'll publish a public hearing notice, and then we'll have a public hearing, and then a first reading on the ordinance, and then we'll have a second reading of the ordinance, and then we'll also have to bring back a contract. So that's still quite many meetings, and I just wanted the board to know that, the applicant, potential applicant to know that, and the public to know that. So I know that was a lot of information, but I'm happy to answer questions or if I missed anything.
Questions on the ultimate making of sausage just designated by the attorney? Commissioner Martin, questions?
I have so many questions about what you just said that I'm going to pass and hope I gather information from everybody else.
Commissioner Lovick.
I would very much like to take a field trip and see the facility before.
Oh, we have plenty of time according to the sausage process, so we're good there.
That's what I'm saying before we move forward. I'd like to see one of their facilities.
Commissioner Connect.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck. This is on the process.
Okay. No, I understand the process. I just want to make sure, because you alluded to the franchise about the EMS. The franchise with the EMS.
That's another subject.
It's separate, I was just
It's another
saying-
subject.
Okay, but.
It's
okay.
the same concept, right?
Okay.
Like, I just wanted to say when I'm talking
But I
about
want to
this
make sure, but it's not, it is, but it isn't. Like, we could have multiple solid waste franchise agreements in Lee County.
That
whereas
is
we can
correct.
only have one ambulance franchise in Lee County.
Yes and sort of yes. Yes, that we can have multiple franchises for solid waste. And yes, the way we have structured the EMS for this time, that will be exclusive for emergency, non-emergency. It doesn't have to be exclusive, but we have made it exclusive.
No, I understand the process. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Reeves, questions on the process?
None. I have a motion for you.
None.
Your motion, sir. We're not done yet.
Sarah, we still have stuff to do.
I'll pass.
Okay.
I am done.
That's it.
Okay, we are done. Moving on. Field trip on order. Resolution interlocal agreement with the City of Sanford to assist in funding the redevelopment of River Birch Shopping Center.
So actually, I'm not done. So I get this one as well. In the agenda packet, you'll see both a resolution authorizing the interlocal agreement, and then the second attachment is in fact the interlocal agreement. So as the board is aware, the Saga has been working with the developers and owners of the River Birch Shopping Center, which is Casto, Lee County, and the city to help redevelop that center. Casto has requested financial support from the local governments, and they plan to redevelop the shopping center with a Target store, a new-to-market grocery store, and other development as well. The request from the county is to help fund the upgrades to the water and sewer infrastructure of the site in the amount of up to $2 million. And looking how to structure this, the county can, in fact, spend money on water and sewer infrastructure, and so we can have an interlocal agreement where we're going to pay for that water and sewer infrastructure to the city. As you've read the agreement, the City of Sanford will have a infrastructure reimbursement agreement directly with Casto. So our interlocal agreement essentially is saying that we have agreed to pay up to $2 million for the water and sewer infrastructure at the Riverboat Shopping Center. The term of the agreement is for 5 years because our funding will not be triggered until the Target and the New to Market Grocery are open to the public. So once that has triggered once that has been triggered, the developer, or not, excuse me, the reimbursement agreement that Casto and the city will have is Casto will upfront the cost of the infrastructure, and then at the end, when both stores are open to the public, they will submit for that reimbursement, and the city will audit the documents and look at it, send them to the county to audit the documents, and then we'll pay to the city. Simultaneously, the city has also agreed to pay up to the I think it's 4.4, is that right? Okay. $4.4 million to Casto, and that would be like a simultaneous paying at the end of the project. So the county's contribution again is up to $2 million, depending on how much the water and sewer funds come in, and I'm happy to answer any questions if the board has.
Questions for the attorney on this? Commissioner Sharp?
I'm good.
Commissioner Reeves?
No questions.
Commissioner Vorbeck? Commissioner Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick?
I'm good also, thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
None.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution interlocal agreement with the city of Sanford to assist in funding the redevelopment of Riverbird Shopping Center? I have a motion. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Can I have a show of hands of the ayes, please? Did you get that, Madam Chair? Excuse me. Madam Clerk? Thank you. Moving on. Next item, manager's report, monthly financial reports. Thank you for your long extended stay. I think people are leaving. Oh, we're not finished?
The most exciting part, sir. I'll keep this short and sweet. You have 2 monthly financial reports, July and August, and the sales tax for June came in. At the end of August, we were at 9.82% of our ad valorem budget, and the target expenditures for the end of July was 8.3%, and August is 16.6%. A few of the departments were over, but that was due to the inclusion of annual agreements and encumbrances. So if those factors were removed, they would not have been over. As far as sales tax go, which I want to remind you again that these are 3 months behind, we are at 3.82% above this time last year. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Jen? Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Lovick? Commissioner Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Reeves? Commissioner Sharp?
I'm good.
Okay, manager's report. Thank you, Jen.
Okay, we'll start out by talking about ongoing projects. First one I want to talk about is Lee County Athletic Park. We received our certificate of occupancy and it has been issued for the 5 buildings and the site. We held grand opening celebrations this weekend with a employee family night on Friday night. We know we had at least 217 employees attend plus family members, so it was an awesome night, and we appreciate the ability to be able to have that for our employees. And then Saturday, we held our grand opening celebration, which was a perfect weather day and absolutely perfect event. We are estimating that we had at least 5,000 people in attendance that night, that day. So I personally appreciate all the staff's input and work on this project and all the volunteers and everything that we had out that day, and the sponsors from our community who stepped up to the table to make this event a true county event and for everybody there. At one point before the ribbon cutting, I looked down on the playground and it was covered with kids of all ages. There were cheerleaders that came out that day all over it. The ROTC unit was on it, and it just made it a truly meant what it's meant to be, is a place for fun and where all the cares of the world can be put aside. So thank you.
I will let y'all read at your leisure the other things there. I also do want to point out too that I mentioned to you before that our diamond fields are rented already from this coming weekend through Thanksgiving. But Mr. Keel shared with me today that this weekend's tournament has 20 teams in it, and 10 of those teams will be coming for over 3 hours away. So they will also be staying in our hotels, visiting our restaurants, probably running to the various stores in town to pick up sports things that inevitably get forgotten. So the park will be making an economic impact for the county, so we're happy to report that. If you haven't been out there, go check it out. When we say destination playground, we are not kidding. And plus, it's a beautiful facility and does have a walking trail. Library building project, construction continues with the focus on main building construction. The exterior, our CMR is working to make the building weather tight. Roof construction is in progress with the majority of the roof system installed. Windows and storefront glass installation is in progress. Staff is reviewing weather days with the CMR or the construction manager to officially log weather days and incorporate them into the contract. The interior, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough ends are nearing completion, and the majority of the drywall has been installed. We've had a couple of change orders concerning column bracing and hardware revision, but at this time, those are all covered within the contract and the allowances we have. On the historic courthouse project, roof replacement continues with copper work. We're 70 to 75% complete on that. Final stabilization of the parapets has been completed. Chimney stabilization needs to be completed to allow for roof construction to move forward. We have found deteriorated bricks and they're being removed and removing existing roofing material. Bricks are deteriorated and not properly installed. Each corner chimney was constructed differently. The engineer has reviewed and provided guidance on how to repair and stabilize them to allow for new roof installation. We are considering the parapet change order that was unexpected. The coping for the entire parapet will be changed from precast concrete to copper. There will be cost savings associated with the material change and some time savings. The rework on the parapet has caused schedule delays in addition to the weather days encountered. Lee County is working with architect and general contractor in finalizing an updated schedule now that parapet repairs are nearing completion. Extending the schedule will result in additional costs for architect and general contractor soft cost. Lee County is working to finalize designs and obtain an updated schedule. Update on the EMS franchise. The EMS Advisory Committee met on August 28th to continue deliberations regarding proposals submitted by MedX and First Health for EMS franchise award consideration for a new term beginning July 1st, 2026. The committee voted unanimously to recommend the proposal submitted by First Health. Copies of the proposals submitted by First Health and MedX have been placed at your table spot tonight. They're in the tan envelopes there. Public hearings will be held at the October 6th and October 20th Board of Commissioners meetings. Following the public hearings, the Board of Commissioners will take action directing staff to move forward with the contract negotiation with the selected vendor. If you have any questions on that, our legal counsel and Ms. Gamble will be able to help you with that. Then you have the attached reports, and you can see the next couple meeting, or the schedule for the next couple meetings. Please remember that September 18th is the Saga annual meeting here at the Civic Center from 5 to 8 p.m. Hopefully, if you're interested in attending, you've reached out to Ms. Hall. If not, please do so. And then the next 4 Board of Commissioners meetings will be held here at the Civic Center. I know we're all anxiously awaiting the opening of the new library so we can get a permanent home again for the Board of Commissioners meetings, and that will be coming about this spring. So be on the lookout for another exciting celebration to celebrate something else really exciting for the county. I'm done.
Questions for the manager? Commissioner Sharp? Commissioner Reeves? Commissioner Vorbeck? Commissioner Connect? Commissioner Lovick?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
I have a general question, not necessarily about what you said, which was lovely. But where are we at with the 5-on-5 with the school? I mean, just listening to the conversation tonight surrounding the permission to apply for that grant, and it triggered to me that I know we had that dual meeting, and then there was some movement, but I haven't had an update on that.
There was never a decision by our board to form the 5-on-5 committee. I was directed to work with the superintendent. We have had one meeting, and I will be trying to set up a meeting with him again soon, now that some other things have kind of moved to the back burner, and we can sit down and start talking about stuff going into the new budget year.
What do we need to accomplish with Dr. Dossenbach and the county manager? What's the goal for that part of the meeting?
I was just directed to get with them and see what we can come up with that might help resolve these issues, or where we can go. I took it as a goal to try to sit down and work together to see what we can accomplish and how we can find some meeting ground on this.
Okay. So I think I thought it was that we were looking into this to beginning a 5-on-5 with them. Can we look at, are there records from that meeting somewhere?
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
Can we determine what was decided at that end and get an update? Because I'd like to move forward with that. I've offered to be on that committee, and I imagine there's another commissioner here. We need to start working with the school to figure out where we're at.
I will
Thank you.
Get with Haley, and we'll
Perfect.
review that.
Any other questions
No,
for the
thank you.
manager? Commissioner comments. We'll start with you, Commissioner Martin. Commissioner comments.
Yeah. I mean, I have to first, of course, we're all shocked with the news of the assassination, and I know in one sense we're all reeling from that. And there have been some memorial services set up within driving distance for us. But my understanding is there's also going to be one set up here in Lee County. I don't have details on that yet, but I will have it on my commissioner Facebook page if anybody is interested in that. So, yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick.
I know we got some pushback tonight on some of our votes on some purchases and things, but I'd like to say, not meaning this with any malice whatsoever, but we have tried to go in jointly with some of the property that the school system owns, that the county taxpayers bought, and build a joint venture with them down there to hold many of the things that on this building purchase we did. So I just want the people to know that we tried some things and got turned down on that, and the taxpayers already own that, so we could have saved a little money there. And thanks for the citizens that did come out tonight and saw that their property wasn't going to be as bad off as they thought. So it's good to hear public comments on each and everything, and I want to give so many kudos to our staff and ones that helped out with the athletic park opening. What a great event. And like I told those, I said, the kids weren't scared at the drone light show. They weren't covering their ears and scared. There was no debris falling from the fireworks on your vehicles. You didn't have to worry about if it was too dry to burn. And not to mention how great the light show was. Young and old have complimented Lee County on what they did at that athletic park. And I just want to share with all the commissioners and staff and the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
I'll echo Mark's comments of the opening of the LCAP. It was a great night. Lots of food vendors were out there. I love that we had multiple tents out there with, I think, just promoting still what we're trying to do in the county, and we had other people located in the county that weren't just county facilities and stuff out there. I think the line dancing Friday night was really fun, and 2 of my kids said it was their best night ever. So we had an absolute blast out there. I think getting to the different sports and stuff that's going to come and be able to give kids an outlet is just going to be incredible for the county. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach. Commissioner Reeves?
I just want to say thank you to the staff for putting on that grand opening. I was truly impressed. I don't like to think about how much money I was standing on when I kicked that goal.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Sharp.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the same thing as Mark, Taylor, and Robert, and thank the staff for putting on such a good event. It was well-planned, and me and my wife had a ball while we were there. That's all I have.
I would add to that, but I do want to commend Camden for standing through this entire meeting. I hope you took copious notes on the making of sausage in Lee County. So I commend you for hanging in there. Just so everyone knows, there is a fundraiser by the Deep River Park Camelback Bridge and Native American Gathering on Saturday, November 8th. We left a flyer at each one of your locations. And unfortunately, I will be in Tennessee, or what was formerly the western counties of North Carolina, that weekend. So if anyone wishes to speak, I would appreciate you filling in for me, because I've been invited almost every other year, and every year I'm in Tennessee with another commitment. Again, I would just add kudos to Saturday's grand opening, to the staff, to the volunteers, to the law enforcement, to the fire departments, everybody that participated in it. And we're just enjoying going out there, watching games. I walk up and down the line, and everybody is just enjoying sitting there, and just a marvelous field, and people are coming from out of town. 2 games already this past week and a half, and they're just marveling at what we have. So our compliments to those who have put forth the effort to make that happen. Without further ado, do I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Please drive safely, wear your seatbelts, and no speeding.